Thousands of geniuses within the Void's secret realm merely felt a tremor in the Void's secret realm, but finding nothing, they paid no further attention. With the Imperial weapon dormant, Ao Yuan quickly collected the essence of the Void and swiftly left the scene of the first crime. Of course, before leaving, Ao Yuan imitated Yi Xiu's Taoist magic and left some broken clues at the first crime scene. After finishing up, Ao Yuan opened the real-time holographic positioning map and took a closer look. He discovered that Yi Xiu had actually been safely teleported to the western regions, and the location was very close to the Central Plains. It's clear that this time, with her luck plummeting, the Heavenly Mandate Halo did its utmost to send Yi Xiu back to her most familiar hometown, the Central Continent. Since it's so far away, I'll let you linger on for a few more years. Ao Yuan secretly plotted in his heart. There are still nearly 2/3 of the debts outstanding, so Yi Xiu can't kill them yet, at least not until the debts are paid off. With the Destiny Villain system as a senior, Ao Yuan can keep track of Yi Xiu's situation at all times, so there's no need to worry about not being able to find him. Once he's recovered enough villainous points, he'll lead the Great Emperor to attack Zhangzhou, demanding that Zhangzhou hand over Yi Xiu, and incidentally extorting some compensation for emotional distress. Heh. 3 days later, Emperor Xuan Qianlu arrived at the scene of the crime and only vaguely found some traces of the nascent laws of the Void Emperor's aura, as well as some traces of what appeared to be a physical battle. After sending people to inquire from various sources, it was learned that a blood calamity had broken out in the Void's secret realm. The geniuses of all races joined forces to besiege it, but they fell into a trap and were killed by the blood calamity evil lord Yi Duxiu. Yi Duxiu was actually a great emperor who had been rebuilt. The other geniuses were no match for him, but fortunately, a mysterious genius named Shen Gongbao intervened and saved them from disaster. He Minglin and other peerless geniuses from various races left behind as a last line, attempting to defy the heavens and attack the emperor, but none of them survived. However, based on the clues at the scene, Emperor Xuan Qianlu discovered that another battle had broken out there. One side consisted of a quasi-emperor-level void creature, while the other side, Emperor Xuan Qianlu judged, was the mysterious Emperor Yi Duxiu who had undergone a rebirth. The mysterious Emperor Yi Duxiu used some secret technique to kill the void creature that was infinitely close to becoming an emperor on the spot. Fearing his identity would be exposed, the mysterious Emperor of Reconstruction went into hiding once again. Yi Duxiu, this name is probably fake, and the appearance is most likely not his true face either. The heavenly realm is vast, and the clues are still insufficient. Emperor Xuan Qianlu sighed inwardly. However, Xuanchen Tower will never let go of this mysterious emperor who uses the alias Yi Duxiu. He Han Sheng spread the truth to other forces. Emperor Xuan Qianlu issued a decree indifferently. Yes, the current master of Xuanchen Tower respectfully accepted the order. P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Chapter 188 Nationwide Manhunt. The following day, countless sects simultaneously issued the highest arrest warrant. Anyone who provides information about Night's show will receive a reward, provided the information is verified. The more useful the information provided, the higher the reward will be, ranging from a quasi-sacred artifact to a quasi-imperial weapon. In addition to weapons, the rewards also include a variety of other items such as miraculous pills, super cultivation techniques, world-shaking divine abilities, and access to secret realms, which cultivators who provide useful information can choose from. The bounty caused an uproar throughout the region, with countless small and medium-sized forces and independent cultivators joining the operation, determined not to give up until they saw Yi Duxiu. Even cultivators from the other 3 regions near the Eastern Wilderness came to the Eastern Wilderness to join in the fun. Some reclusive cultivators who had been in seclusion for a long time, as well as the patriarchs of small and medium-sized forces, all recovered as quickly as possible and joined the search for Yi Duxiu's whereabouts. You have plenty of your own magical treasures, and you're sure to find something you want in terms of cultivation techniques, elixirs, opportunities, and supernatural powers. In particular, the special secret realm slots held by behemoth forces such as the immortal Dao lineage, the longevity sect, and the everlasting family are highly coveted even by forces of the same level. In an instant, a wave of bounty hunter fever swept across the Eastern Wilderness immortal realm. "Damn it, Yi Duxiu is a real scoundrel," a burly man said indignantly. "Plotting to kill the geniuses of all races and harming one's own kind, This kind of person is unworthy of being an emperor and has truly disgraced our human race. An old man beside him stroked his beard and said with great sorrow, "It's truly unfair that someone like this can become an emperor," someone echoed. "Who can argue with that? People like that deserve to be torn to pieces and their bones crushed to ashes." Before the bounty poster, cultivators in various attire gathered together, discussing and expressing their opinions. Some were red with anger, while others looked disgusted. They all gathered here to discuss it after seeing the bounty notice. Yi Duxiu, whose name appears on the bounty poster, is the focus of their heated discussion. Yi Duxiu set a trap in the Void's secret realm, indiscriminately killing countless geniuses of all races, including many human geniuses. The news immediately caused a huge uproar, and people felt angry and disgusted by Yi Duxiu's behavior. "No, I want to join the search party and fight for a brighter future for the Eastern Wilderness." Suddenly, a shifty-eyed rogue cultivator stood up indignantly. "This woman is utterly inhuman and has no moral compass. All cultivators under heaven should unite to defeat her," another rogue cultivator exclaimed angrily. "As long as Yi Duxiu remains unpunished, we cultivators will never have peace. Count me in." Another cultivator stepped forward. Cultivators from all over the Eastern Wilderness responded enthusiastically, spontaneously organizing teams to begin searching their respective territories. Eastern Wilderness and Western regions. Deep in the boundless desert, a mangled, bloodied figure slowly rose to its feet. "Damn it," Yi Ziu said with a wry smile as he struggled to his feet. Yi Ziu looked down at his battered body, a bitter smile creeping onto his lips. At this moment, all her bones were shattered, and her meridians were almost completely broken. Every movement felt like countless steel needles were piercing her body at the same time, causing her unbearable pain. Even so, Yi Ziu gritted his teeth and persevered, walking forward step by step. Looking at the boundless golden sea of sand before him, Yi Ziu couldn't help but feel a sense of powerlessness. This sea of sand seemed endless, but Yi Ziu did not give up. Instead, he took a deep breath and continued forward. "I still have a great grudge to avenge. I cannot fall here. Zinner is still in the hands of that lecherous dragon Ao Yuan, and I must rescue her. I want to reclaim my title as the great emperor. I want to conquer the 5 realms. I want to see if there are immortals in this world." Yi Ziu occasionally indulged in self-pity, attempting to use psychological suggestion to help himself escape the desert. However, the next second, Yi Ziu, who was extremely weak, collapsed to the ground and fainted. Yi Ziu's bones and muscles were still emitting a faint light, as his ancient yin sacred body worked overtime to repair itself. Whether it was due to severe injury, bad luck, or both, Yi Ziu's recovery was very slow. After an unknown amount of time, a small caravan slowly approached from a distance. This caravan consisted of only 3 wagons, each loaded with goods. It was a small operation, clearly run by a small business owner. Suddenly, the carriage at the front stopped, and then the carriages behind it also stopped. A beautiful young woman sitting in the first carriage leaned out and called out to the carriage behind her, "Father, there seems to be someone up ahead." Her voice was clear and melodious, and it was very pleasant to listen to. Hearing her daughter's cries, a middle-aged man stepped out of the carriage behind. He was tall and robust, with a resolute and serious face. He wore a black robe and had a long sword hanging at his waist. The girl's father walked to her side and looked in the direction she was pointing. Sure enough, he saw a figure lying motionless on the ground not far ahead. "Let's go take a look," the girl's father said. After saying that, he and his daughter stepped forward together. Hearing the commotion, the girl's brother and mother also went over out of curiosity. Several people approached Yi Ziu one after another. Yi Ziu's external injuries had all disappeared, but he had not yet woken up. Upon seeing that it was a naked girl, the girl's brother turned away on his own, and the girl's father, worried about affecting family harmony, also wisely made the same choice as his son. "Mother, she's not dead, is she?" the girl exclaimed in alarm. "Don't rush, let me see." The girl's mother patted her daughter's shoulder affectionately, then squatted down. After some examination, the girl's mother finally understood the state of the unfamiliar young girl. The mysterious naked woman was not dead, but she was in bad shape. Her soul had been severely damaged and was on the verge of collapse, and she could die at any moment. "Linger, this person is not dead, but there is a problem with his soul, which has caused him to remain unconscious." "Then let's save her," the girl pleaded, looking at her mother. The girl's mother nodded. "Put her in the car first. Whether she wakes up or not depends on her own fate." "Yay, thank you, Mom." The girl jumped up happily. The girl's mother shook her head. She didn't want to get involved in this matter, but her daughter looked at her with such longing, and since the other party was a woman, the girl's mother felt a little sorry for her and agreed almost against her will. However, the elixir to nourish the soul is very expensive, and the girl's mother would not use the money her family worked so hard to earn on trade routes to save a woman of unknown origin. They had done more than enough by taking this naked woman on the road and looking after her. Whether the woman can wake up or not depends entirely on her own will. Soon, the mother and daughter carried Yiziu into the car, washed his body, gave him water, and channeled their spiritual energy into him. This caravan of individual merchants has set off on its journey once again. Chapter 189, Yiziu's rebirth secret revealed. A month later, Ao Yuan, whose cultivation had improved once again, ended his seclusion. System: view Yiziu's panel. Yiziu's panel. Name: Yiziu, reborn emperor. Gender: female, current. Age: 38. Actual age: 4,461. Physique: ancient extreme yin sacred body. Combat strength: peak of the Tao severing realm, low health. Faction: none. Main cultivation method: the scripture of the 10,000 saints emperor created in a previous life. Luck value: 1,000,000, 1,000,000. Luck level: virtual gold. Current location: eastern continent of Central Heaven Dome. Ifold. They've already run back to Zhangzhou so quickly. Ao Yuan smiled calmly. The heavenly mandate halo was indeed effective. Upon discovering that Yiziu was constantly being thwarted in the eastern wilderness, it sent Yiziu back to the central plains. Unfortunately, Ao Yuan had a cheat code that allowed him to pinpoint Yiziu's exact location in real time. Although Yiziu was very familiar with Zhangzhou, Zhangzhou also held her two greatest enemies from her previous life. Ao Yuan would be stopped by the central plains if he went there to show off his power, but this would only be possible if Yiziu's identity was not exposed. If Yiziu's true identity is exposed, he will be facing more than 90% of the great emperors of Zhangzhou. Although Yiziu has several close friends in Zhangzhou, the two most powerful forces currently in Zhangzhou are Tianwu Immortal Palace, founded by Yiziu's ex-girlfriend Shangyuan Qingyi, and Xuanyuan Immortal Dynasty, founded by Feng Tianyu, Yiziu's best friend from his previous life. To be honest, after Yiziu's death, these two people's cultivation was like they had cheated. In just 3,000 years, Emperor Xuanyuan Feng Tianyu's cultivation reached the late stage of emperor, and Shangyuan Qingyi was even more heaven-defying, her cultivation recently reaching the peak of emperor. Become a true top emperor in Zhangzhou. With these two around, it would be quite a mess if Yiziu's identity were exposed. The Yellow Emperor was a womanizer. If he knew that Yiziu had become a woman, and with a completely new mutated holy body at that, then, without hesitation, after finalizing the plan, Ao Yuan left the Void secret realm, changed multiple identities, and spread the rumor that Yi Duxiu's real name was Yiziu, and that he was the reincarnation of the great emperor of 10,000 fires of Zhangzhou. As for whether there is any evidence, the earth-shattering battle in the Void realm proves this. To be able to annihilate a quasi-emperor-level Void creature, what else could it be but an emperor? Aside from the great emperor rebuilding his power, who else could kill the great emperor silently and without a trace? After rumors of Yiziu's true identity spread, countless sects were shocked. They didn't know if the rumors were true, but they didn't come out to explain. As time went on, the truth about Yiziu's possession and rebirth spread everywhere. In an instant, headlines such as, "Shocking, the great emperor of Zhangzhou is a pervert," "The dog-like great emperor of Zhangzhou is harming the cultivation world of the eastern wilderness," "The human race of Zhangzhou is about to invade the 4 domains," and "All the great emperors of Zhangzhou are perverts," appeared. Countless rumors spread throughout the eastern wilderness, and soon, rumors also circulated in the other 4 regions that the Central Plains' treacherous wolf like sun harbors ill intentions towards the eastern wilderness and the other 4 regions. When these words reached Zhangzhou, countless great emperor lineages were shaken. The Tianji sect was especially lively, with many great emperors who had either enmity or kindness towards Yiziu seeking out the Tianji elder to request him to investigate the secrets of heaven. Not long after, the rumor that Yi Duxiu was Yiziu, the emperor of 10,000 fires, was confirmed. The hundreds of imperial lineages in Zhangzhou immediately issued a reward. Whoever discovers the whereabouts of the myriad fires emperor will be rewarded with a sacred artifact. Whoever beheads the great emperor of 10,000 fires will be rewarded with an imperial weapon. If you capture the great emperor of 10,000 fires alive, you will not only obtain an imperial weapon, but also receive guidance from any great emperor of the Slaying Leaf Alliance. The announcement of the bounty caused a stir throughout the 5 regions and 4 seas, with countless cultivators allocating huge sums of money to conduct bounty hunting activities in the eastern wilderness. The number of cultivators from outside Tianshu City increased several orders of magnitude in an instant, and the Zhu Yi Alliance was everywhere in the Void Secret Realm. At the same time that the Zhu Yi Alliance issued the bounty order, Tianwu Immortal Palace and Xuanyuan Immortal Dynasty simultaneously issued their own announcements. Tianwu Immortal Palace. The great Emperor Wanhuo is an indispensable person to Tianwu Immortal Palace. Even if we fight to the last drop of blood, Tianwu Immortal Palace will protect the great Emperor Wanhuo. Xuanyuan Immortal Dynasty. Emperor Wanhuo is my closest friend, and Xuanyuan Immortal Dynasty has always stood behind Emperor Wanhuo. As soon as the 2 major lineages were declared, Yi Ziu, the great emperor of 10,000 fires, instantly became the most discussed person in the 5 domains and 4 seas. Of course, Tianwu Immortal Palace and Xuanyuan Dynasty also issued similar reward announcements. Tianwu Immortal Palace. Those who report Yi Ziu's whereabouts and help Tianwu Immortal Palace protect Emperor Wanhuo back home will receive an imperial weapon and personal guidance from Empress Qingshuan. Xuanyuan Immortal Dynasty. Those who report Yi Ziu's whereabouts and make meritorious contributions will receive a Xuanyuan sacred artifact. If they protect Emperor Wanhuo back home, they will not only receive an emperor weapon, but also marry a woman from the Xuanyuan Immortal Dynasty royal family and receive personal guidance from Emperor Xuanyuan. The announcement from the 3 parties brought joy to countless cultivators. No matter who you entrust Yi Ziu to, he will receive an imperial weapon and guidance from the great emperor. This is the first time I've ever encountered such an opportunity. Seeing how ruthless Zhangzhou was, the Eastern Wilderness Myriad Races Alliance for the extermination of Yi Ziu was not to be outdone. They immediately updated the bounty rewards. Whoever takes Yi Ziu's dog head will receive an emperor weapon and 3 slots in the Myriad Races secret realm. Whoever lives Yi Ziu will not only receive an emperor weapon, but also 5 slots in the Myriad Races secret realm, plus personal guidance from the great emperors of each race. The announcement sparked jubilation among countless cultivators. This was the closest the imperial weapon had ever been to them, and also the closest they had ever been to Emperor Cheng. Once the announcement was made, countless great saints and quasi-emperors appeared in the world to participate in Yi Ziu's hunting operation. Even those ancient and evergreen clans, supreme lineages, and immortal dynasties have seen countless peerless geniuses join them. They are not after the imperial weapon, but to achieve the feat of defying the heavens and overthrowing the emperor, and to gain the strongest advantage before the imperial struggle. In a remote town on the far east continent of central China, Yi Ziu, dressed in a black robe, stared intently at the wanted poster in her hand, her face so gloomy it seemed to drip water. "Damn it, you old devil Tianji, you son of a bitch. You exposed my name for no reason. I curse your entire family and your ancestors for 18 generations. And that idiot who goes around spreading rumors that I possessed your body, you better not be found by me, or I will definitely wipe out your entire family and cut off all your bloodline. Shang Yuan Qingyi and Feng Tianyu, you 2 treacherous lovers, you're still putting on an act and pretending to be affectionate even now. When I, the emperor, once again reign supreme, I will make sure you are utterly disgraced." Yi Ziu's inner voice screamed with impotence. Faced with such a crisis, she, a great emperor, never imagined that she could only hide in the deepest shadows like a rat in a gutter. Fortunately, I took precautions before coming to Zhangzhou. After waking up in the desert, I deliberately asked that young girl about the direction of the East China Sea. I used a feint and a clever escape plan to avoid that family and secretly return to Zhangzhou. I even changed my appearance again. Those guys probably still think I'm in the eastern wilderness, ha-ha. Yi Ziu's lips curled up, pleased with his own cleverness. The most dangerous place is the safest place. You guys can go have fun on your own. A hint of smugness flashed in Yi Ziu's eyes. So what if the old man of heavenly secrets revealed her identity? So what if that despicable couple knew she was alive? So what if those great emperors and their lineages wanted her? They've been fooled by themselves, running around in circles like headless flies. At the same time, Ao Yuan returned to his old ways, impersonating Yi Ziu to draw fire for Yi Ziu while also collecting some villain points. With so many people holding him back, Yi Ziu dared not step forward. The chaotic situation in the eastern wilderness presented a perfect opportunity to quickly hunt down villains. Ding, congratulations, host, for successfully killing the level 1 prodigy Lin Jing. Host has gained 3 million villain points. Ding, congratulations, host, for successfully killing Henan, a top-tier genius of a certain region. Host has gained 50 million villain points, 50 million. Ding, congratulations, host, for successfully killing Hashimoto, a first-level prodigy. Host has gained 20 million villain points, 20 million. Ding, congratulations, host, for successfully killing Wu Yang, a second-level prodigy. Host has gained 2,000 villain points. Ding, congratulations, host, for successfully killing the level 1 prodigy Yu Kaiangsu. Host has gained 7 million villain points. Ding, congratulations, host, for successfully killing the level 1 prodigy Wu Longlong. Host has gained 3 million villain points. As the system's automatic announcements rang out, Ao Yuan's villain value steadily increased towards 0. The price fluctuates, sometimes rising and sometimes falling, sometimes fast and sometimes slow, but everything is proceeding in an orderly manner. P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 190, Who is Stronger is the Master. 3 years later. Halt, this is the grounds of the Xunyuan Imperial Palace. Unauthorized persons are not permitted to approach. As soon as Chen Zhou approached, the guards of the Half-Saint Imperial Palace immediately issued a warning. Fellow Taoist, I have important news to report to Emperor Xunyuan. Please inform him. Chen Zhou looked calmly at the golden armored guard before him, his tone even. Wait a moment. After saying that, the guard immediately turned around and went to the commander's office to report the matter. A moment later, a valiant woman dressed in golden armor came out. Upon seeing Chen Zhou, a look of surprise appeared on her face. She discovered that she couldn't see through the cultivation level of the man in front of her. You must know that she is a peak great sage and one of the favorite concubines of Emperor Xunyuan. She has even met many emperors. There are only 2 possibilities for people she cannot see through. Either this person is a great emperor, or this person has some special means to conceal their cultivation level. Either way, it means the other party is not simple and deserves to be treated with respect. The woman stopped and regained her composure. She looked at Chen Zhou and said calmly, His Majesty is currently discussing matters in the palace and cannot receive guests at the moment. Please come with me to the Tranquil Heart Hall and wait for a moment. Unable to discern the newcomer's cultivation level or background, and unaffected by the aura of reduced intelligence, the woman treated him with courtesy. Chen Zhou nodded slightly, his expression remaining calm, and followed the woman inside. Along the way, the woman subtly asked Chen Zhou a few questions, and Chen Zhou selectively exchanged a few words with her. The woman learned that Chen Zhou had escorted Yi Ziu, the good brother of Emperor Xunyuan, to the Xunyuan immortal dynasty, and Chen Zhou also learned that this woman was one of Emperor Xunyuan's favorite concubines, Consort Ya. Before long, the 2 arrived at the Jingxin Hall, the outermost part of the palace, where Emperor Xunyuan received distinguished guests. Rather than a palace, it is more like a tall building. The Jingxin Hall soars into the clouds, overlooking the entire imperial city. It is magnificent and independent, with a sense of being on top of the world. Fellow Taoist, please sit. I have already sent someone to inform the great emperor, and he should arrive soon. Ye Fei hurriedly poured tea for Chen Zhou. The tea has a clear and far-reaching fragrance. Its spiritual energy alone is equivalent to a year of arduous cultivation by an ordinary saint. Of course, Ye Fei's attitude towards Chen Zhou was because Chen Zhou saved her husband Xunyuan Emperor's sworn brother, Wanhuo Emperor. Otherwise, even if the emperor himself came, Consort Ye would not personally brew the tea. The brotherhood between Emperor Xunyuan Feng Tianyu and Emperor Wanhuo is a beautiful story praised by countless cultivators in Jiangsu. Back then, in order to help his beloved Empress Qingshuan and his good brother Emperor Xunyuan become emperors, Emperor Wanhuo single-handedly suppressed and killed all the quasi-emperors in Jiangsu. Then, he, Emperor Xunyuan and Empress Qingshuan risked their lives to enter the forbidden land of gods. The friendship between the 3 of them is still a legendary tale admired by cultivators in the Central Plains, even 3,000 years later. In particular, the story of Emperor Wanhuo choosing to cover the retreat for his beloved and brothers, and dying in the forbidden land of gods, is something that cultivators often cannot help but shed tears when it is mentioned. A great emperor could have easily escaped unscathed by abandoning his beloved and brothers, but the Emperor of 10,000 Fires chose to cover the retreat, ultimately perishing and disappearing with regret. Of course, not all cultivators in Jiangsu thought this way. Those who had a grudge against Yi Ziu held grand banquets on the day they learned of Yi Ziu's death. These forces were all purged one by one, after Emperor Xuanyuan and Empress Qingshuan attained the Tao and became emperors. Almost every cultivator in Jiangsu knows these things. As the favored concubine of Emperor Xuanyuan, Consort Ye was well aware of Emperor Xuanyuan's past. Upon learning that Chen Zhou had safely escorted Emperor Wanhuo here, she personally brewed tea for Chen Zhou. When Emperor Xuanyuan reunites with his good brother, he will surely cherish her even more. Before long, the magnificent gates of the Tranquil Heart Palace slowly opened, and Emperor Xuanyuan Feng Tianyu, dressed in a magnificent dragon robe, appeared before everyone like a deity descending. His already cold and stern face was now filled with anxiety, as if he truly harbored a strong longing and yearning for his good brother Yi Ziu, and his eagerness was almost overflowing from his eyes. Seeing this, Consort Ye was overjoyed and quickly stood up to greet him. "Your Majesty." Chen Zhou made a perfunctory bow and said loudly, "I am Chen Zhou, and I greet the great Emperor Xuanyuan." The Yellow Emperor's gaze was fixed on Chen Zhou, his eagerness growing more pronounced, as if he were confirming something important. He said in a low, slightly hoarse voice, "Young friend, is it you who escorted my friend Wanhuo back?" Chen Zhou's expression remained calm, but a hint of pride flashed in his eyes. He nodded solemnly and answered firmly, "Exactly." After saying that, Chen Zhou stretched out his right hand and waved it gently. A strange light immediately shone up, and then a beautiful young girl with an exquisite face, like a fairy descending to earth, appeared gracefully in front of Emperor Xuanyuan. She had a graceful figure and bright, expressive eyes. It was as if all the beauty in the world was gathered in her. Upon seeing this, the Yellow Emperor felt an indescribable emotion welling up inside him. Without hesitation, he extended his divine sense and looked towards the girl. When his divine sense touched the familiar 10,000 Saints Emperor scripture, his heart was immediately shaken, and the excitement almost made him lose his composure. Then he carefully examined the girl's soul. After a moment, a look of joy appeared on his face. This girl was indeed his true best friend, Yi Ziu. Although it's unclear why Yi Ziu's soul also experienced a reversal of yin and yang, that familiar aura was something even the Yellow Emperor would never forget, even if he turned to ashes. Senior Xuanyuan, I was worried about unforeseen circumstances during the journey, so I used a mind-controlling drug on Senior Wanhuo. Please forgive me, Chen Zhou quickly explained cunningly. The Yellow Emperor smiled and nodded. Young friend, there's no need to be nervous. Wanhuo's identity has been exposed, and he certainly won't easily trust outsiders. Your actions of drugging him were out of necessity, and I understand. Since the Yellow Emperor also wanted to kill Yi Ziu, he naturally wouldn't really care how Yi Ziu was captured by this person. As long as Yi Ziu falls into my hands, what happened back then will forever remain a secret. The Emperor Xuanyuan would naturally not keep the guy who brought Yi Ziu back. Of course, as the Yellow Emperor, Feng Tianyu would never do something as foolish as breaking his promise and killing someone in public. The imperial weapon will be given, and the daughter will be arranged to marry Chen Zhou. Whether Chen Zhou can refine an imperial weapon or not is none of Feng Tianyu's business. As for marrying off my daughter, I'll just have the imperial weapon control the other party to make them refuse. Even when someone refuses, Emperor Xuanyuan doesn't object. Instead, he promises them great benefits and uses imperial weapons to control them and get them to join the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty. What a perfect operation. Thinking of this, Emperor Xuanyuan quickly took out a high-grade imperial weapon. Young friend, this imperial weapon is the divine wheel of blazing fire. I obtained it from a great imperial lineage 1,000 years ago. It has been sealed by me. You can refine it with peace of mind. Thank you, Senior. Chen Zhou quickly feigned an eager expression. The Yellow Emperor smiled kindly. Haha, young friend, this is what you deserve. Don't be shy. Once you've refined the Emperor weapon, you can contact me through this jade slip. As he spoke, the Yellow Emperor took out a pure white jade slip, engraved with the two characters Xuanyuan. Young friend, now that my friend has returned, he is still unconscious. I will go and settle him in first. If you need anything, please let me know through the jade slip. Yafei, I'll leave Chen Zhou's hospitality to you. I will obey your majesty's decree. Consort Ye quickly bowed respectfully. The Yellow Emperor nodded, and with a whoosh, he vanished. After Emperor Xuanyuan left, Chen Zhou hurriedly bid farewell to Consort Ye. Consort Ye understood that Chen Zhou was in a hurry to refine the imperial weapon, so she did not think much of it and personally saw Chen Zhou off out of the palace. He walked into the crowd, through the alley, and Chen Zhou's figure disappeared in an instant. As for the imperial weapon, the fire divine wheel, it was naturally refined by Chen Zhou in an instant. Whoever is strong is the master. The idea of using imperial weapons to trick people shows that Emperor Xun miscalculated. This time, Chen Zhou not only earned 10 million villain points from Ao Yuan, but also obtained an imperial weapon souvenir, a pretty good haul. Chapter 191 Yiziu completely collapses. On the other side, Ao Yuan was eating sunflower seeds, watching the whole process of Yiziu being captured with great interest. 6 months ago, after 2.5 years of killing, Ao Yuan finally paid off his villain points debt and accumulated a considerable amount of villain points. So he decided to retire from the villainous world and return to the Dragon Palace. It wasn't that Ao Yuan didn't want to continue, but rather that he had already slaughtered almost all the geniuses from the 5 regions who had come to the eastern wilderness. The remaining ones either carried imperial weapons or were secretly following the protectors. Moreover, these people were on guard and did not reveal their identities, so Ao Yuan could not kill them. For ordinary geniuses or others, the villain value is too low, so Ao Yuan has no pressure now and naturally loses interest. Instead of targeting these people, it's better to openly challenge the prodigies of various families and powerful independent cultivators to hone one's skills. Unfortunately, defeating the villains didn't earn him any villain points, so after a few attempts, Ao Yuan went home to find Wang Chang. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. After a few days of blissful intimacy, Ao Yuan remembered Yiziu, who had run off to Zhangzhou. After checking, Ao Yuan discovered that Yiziu had also successfully entered the Saint Realm, and his luck had surged by 1,500,000, 1,500,000, to reach 2,500,000, 2,500,000. However, it is still below the perfect kill threshold, and can be perfectly killed at any time to obtain the final villain value. After thinking for a moment, Ao Yuan directly asked the system if there was any way for Feng Tianyu to catch Yiziu, and received the answer: 10 million villain points. Without hesitation, Ao Yuan paid 10 million villain points to use Feng Tianyu to deliver the final blow to Yiziu, in order to facilitate his subsequent plans. To be honest, the system was really powerful. Not long after paying the villain points, Ao Yuan saw Yiziu being ambushed as soon as he left the secret realm in a holographic view. An unfamiliar great sage from Central Plains knocked down the heavily injured Yiziu with a single blow. Just as this 6th great sage was about to destroy the evidence, Yiziu's spiritual power failed, revealing his true form. The 6th great sage was overjoyed and quickly took out a small bottle of pills to feed Yiziu. Ao Yuan recognized the medicine as the saint-grade bewitching pill at a glance. Then Yiziu was captured by this person's supernatural power and pulled into his sleeve, the perspective frozen in darkness. The screen lit up again 2.5 days later, and Yiziu appeared before Emperor Xun. The fact that he traveled half of Zhangzhou in 2.5 days shows how eager and cautious this 6th great sage was. Deep within the imperial palace of the Xun immortal dynasty in Zhangzhou, Yiziu was deliberately bound into an extremely beautiful position by the Xun emperor. Humtilda, Yiziu groaned instinctively. Yiziu showed signs of waking up, but her consciousness was still in a state of confusion, as if shrouded in a layer of mist, and she was temporarily unable to perceive the outside world. Consciousness was gradually returning, but the mind still felt as if it were being weighed down by heavy lead, extremely drowsy, and completely unable to perceive anything unusual about the body. Time passed second by second. After what felt like an eternity, Yiziu's hazy consciousness finally cleared up completely, as if the clouds had parted to reveal the clear sky. When she truly felt her body being bound by some mysterious force, the sudden feeling of restraint made her expression change drastically, and a look of fear flashed in her eyes. "You're awake." Just then, a familiar voice entered her ears, like a thunderclap exploding in her mind. Yiziu subconsciously raised her head, and the moment her gaze fell upon the figure of the newcomer, her world seemed to collapse instantly. Like a bolt from the blue, Yiziu's pupils contracted sharply, and an indescribable sense of horror filled his entire body. The person who arrived was none other than Feng Tianyu. The name struck Yiziu like a heavy hammer, leaving her mind blank. All thoughts were disrupted by this sudden change, leaving only endless shock and bewilderment. "Yiduxiu," No, I should call you Yi Ziu, right, brother Yi, the great emperor of 10,000 fires. The Xuanyuan emperor looked at Yi Ziu with utter disdain, as if he were looking at a toy in his hands. Feng Tian, you! Yi Ziu stared at Feng Tianyu with bloodshot eyes. If looks could kill, Feng Tianyu would have died countless times by now. Brother Yi, don't be so angry. It was just a minor incident where you touched King Yi. It's nothing serious. We're brothers. Feng Tianyu lightly pinched Yi Ziu's fair and jade-like chin. By the way, brother Yi, you probably don't know how good King Yi's background is. Feng Tianyu looked at Yi Ziu with a mocking gaze. Sigh, Feng Tianyu sighed, then continued. Unfortunately, I'm no match for that woman now. Perhaps it would be better to bring her here so brother Yi can observe her. Feng Tian, you! Yi Ziu struggled angrily, but it was no use. Apart from his bloodshot eyes and feeble barks, Yi Ziu had no way to deal with Feng Tianyu. As the saying goes, enemies are bound to be furious when they meet. Falling into the hands of his former enemy, Yi Ziu's veins bulged with rage, and his face contorted in a ferocious expression. Don't get agitated, brother Yi, it's not good to be angry. Feng Tianyu quickly comforted Yi Ziu. But brother Yi, how did you become a woman completely? I'm a little curious. Get out, get your filthy hands off me, Yi Ziu roared furiously. Feng Tianyu chuckled lightly. Brother Yi, we're brothers, and it's not easy for us to meet. It wouldn't look good if it turned out like this. But Yi Ziu spat at Feng Tianyu, but Feng Tianyu was already on guard, and Yi Ziu's spittle, which contained holy power, couldn't touch Feng Tianyu at all. Feng Tianyu, you despicable person, you hypocrite, how dare you utter the word brother? Back then, I treated you with all my heart and soul, caring for you like the most precious thing in the world. I was so good to you, yet you were so heartless, conspiring with that shameless wretch to betray and kill me. Brother Yi, don't say that. I was very kind to you back then. If it weren't for me, how could you have obtained such a beautiful appearance? Hearing Feng Tianyu's shameless words, Yi Ziu's face turned red with anger and his breasts were blocked, causing him great pain. Brother Yi, since fate has brought us together again, let bygones be bygones. I will make it up to you. Feng Tianyu approached Yi Ziu with a wicked smile. What do you want to do? Yi Ziu struggled in terror. Although Yi Ziu's cultivation was not sealed, the rope that Feng Tianyu used to bind her was a mid-grade imperial weapon. No matter how Yi Ziu tried to prick her with needles, it was all in vain. 100,000 words omitted here. Ding, Yi Ziu, the Chosen One, has suffered humiliation at the hands of his past life's enemy, causing his mentality to explode, his spirit to collapse, and his Dao heart to shatter. Yi Ziu's luck value has plummeted by 100,000, and the host has gained 10 million villain points. 10 million. Ding, the Chosen One Yi Ziu has suffered terribly due to his host falling into the hands of his past life's enemy, enduring torture and shattering his Dao heart, making his life a living hell. Yi Ziu's luck value has plummeted by 1,500,000, and the host has gained 15 million villain points. 15 million. Ding, Yi Ziu, the Chosen One, has had his luck reduced to 0 and his destiny halo shattered. Host, please kill him as soon as possible to avoid losing the kill reward. What, there's a kill reward too? Upon hearing that there was a reward for kills, Ao Yuan immediately stood up. Did you ask? Ao Yuan sat down speechlessly. Luckily, he had given Yi Ziu to Feng Tianyu instead of Shangyu and King Yi, otherwise he would have lost the kill reward. Given Feng Tianyu's exceptional abilities, Yi Ziu shouldn't be in any danger for a long time, although he probably won't be able to move around freely, which is a bit of a stretch. Fine, let Yi Ziu enjoy her last moments of happiness. Ao Yuan deactivated the real-time holographic audio-visual system, and in a flash, arrived at Wang Chang's boudoir. P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 192, The 5 Regions Tremble, and All Sides Move. 3 months later, a mighty dragon roared out from the East Sea of the Eastern Wilderness, Eastern Land, and descended upon the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty in the Central Plains in an instant. The boundless Imperial might surge down like a tidal wave, as if it would shatter the entire central continent. An immense pressure permeated the heavens and earth, abruptly awakening countless emperors from their slumber. A strong sense of unease and fear surged within them, as if some terrible disaster was about to befall them. In an instant, the 5 regions were shaken. Zhangzhu. Inside the heavenly mystery pavilion, an elderly man with a full head of white hair grew increasingly solemn. His deep eyes gleamed with worry as he muttered to himself, "A terrible omen." The white-haired old man frowned deeply, his whisk trembling slightly, as if he sensed the imperial aura and foresaw the impending upheaval. In the distant, heavenly martial immortal palace, a dark glint appeared in Shangyuan Kingyi's bright and innocent eyes. A sinister and eerie voice suddenly resounded deep within Shangyuan Kingyi's consciousness, sending chills down her spine like the spitting of a venomous snake. How lively, another fight has broken out. The creatures of your realm are truly short-sighted. The voice carried a hint of eerie laughter, as if it could see through Guan Qingyi's inner secrets. Shangyuan Qingyi's expression changed slightly, and she coldly rebuked, "Shut up." The voice showed no sign of stopping, continuing to laugh sinisterly. Heh. Shangyuan Qingyi, don't forget how you acquired your cultivation. If it weren't for our clan's meticulous nurturing, how could you have achieved what you have today? Upon hearing this, a complex expression flashed in Shangyuan Qingyi's eyes. Shut up, I Shangyuan Qingyi will definitely fulfill my promise to you. I don't need your interference, Shangyuan Qingyi said coldly. Heh, Shangyuan Qingyi, don't forget how servile you were in front of our clan back then. Now you dare to disobey our orders. Do you think you can escape? The voice kept stimulating Shangyuan Qingyi's nerves, making her increasingly irritable. Shangyuan Qingyi suppressed her anger. She had already found a way to deal with the strange will. In order to win a lifetime of immortality, she temporarily suppressed her anger. Shangyuan Qingyi, hide your tail well, don't give yourself away. When my clan descends, I will surely let you rule the 5 regions and 4 seas, becoming the supreme ruler of humanity. He made empty promises after obtaining the voice. I hope your clan can keep its promise, Shangyuan Qingyi replied coldly. The mysterious clan is an evil race that once attempted to invade the 5 regions and 4 seas. Who would have thought that Empress Qingshuan, the first female emperor of Zhangzhou, would willingly degenerate and choose to collude with strange creatures? Ha. As the clear sound faded, the Yellow Emperor ended his impact and appeared before the Dragon Emperors. Fellow Taoists, you have come from afar. May I ask what business you have with me, Feng Tianyu, the Xunyuan Emperor? Emperor Feng Tianyu asked with a smile. Whoosh. In the blink of an eye, dozens of great emperors of the Central Plains arrived above the Xunyuan immortal dynasty, standing beside the great Emperor Xunyuan and confronting the Dragon Palace. Although they each had their own grudges, these emperors still managed to unite in the face of the overwhelming forces of the Dragon Palace emperors, a rare occurrence. Eastern Wilderness, Eastern Land. What's going on? Why would the Dragon Clan suddenly attack Zhangzhou? A great emperor wondered. I don't know, I just sensed a whoosh, and the dragons descended upon Zhangzhou. Another great emperor shook his head, utterly perplexed. The war for immortality hasn't even begun yet. So why is the Dragon Clan suddenly launching an attack on the Xunyuan immortal dynasty? Should we intervene to help the Dragon Palace? One of the emperors asked, posing the crucial question. Upon hearing this, several of the great emperors shook their heads in refusal, while the others did not object, their eyes filled with fighting spirit. Regardless of the Dragon Clan's motives, we are all part of the Eastern Wilderness. As the great emperors of the Eastern Wilderness, we should step forward and stand with the Dragon Palace. Emperor Jai was the first to step forward and express his stance. The righteous words of the Jai family emperor seemed to possess a magical power, constantly captivating the hearts of everyone present. That's right, the people of Zhangzhou are really going too far. Another emperor roared angrily, his eyes flashing with burning rage. The great emperor of the Central Plains sect possessed the bodies of my juniors in the Eastern Wilderness, and ruthlessly slaughtered so many of my Eastern Wilderness's geniuses. Such behavior is simply outrageous. We absolutely cannot stand idly by. We must teach Zhangzhou a lesson they won't forget, and show them the might of us, the great emperors of the Eastern Wilderness, roared the hot-tempered Tiger Demon Emperor. As the Tiger Emperor's roar subsided, the entire venue fell into complete silence. A strong sense of indignation welled up in the hearts of all the emperors. They felt extremely heartbroken and angry at what the people of Zhangzhou had done. A moment later, an elderly emperor slowly stood up, his eyes revealing profound wisdom and endless vicissitudes. Everyone, the situation is critical. We must unite and gather all the strength of the Eastern Wilderness to make the Central State give an explanation to the cultivation world of the Eastern Wilderness. His voice, though deep, was full of power, as if it could penetrate people's hearts. The Dragon Clan's intervention may have other hidden reasons, but in any case, we must not forget our responsibilities as the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. We must prioritize the greater good, set aside past grievances, and join hands with the Dragon Palace to jointly defend the dignity and glory of the Eastern Wilderness. Upon hearing this, all the emperors nodded in agreement. They knew that this was a critical moment, and only by uniting as one could they overcome the difficulties. Then let's fight. Count me in. No matter who beats the dogs of Zhangzhou, I, the Xuanqian Emperor, will definitely stand up for them. The Xuanqian Emperor roared heroically. Upon seeing the Xuantian Emperor, the emperors were all taken aback. We greet Senior Xuanqian. The emperors immediately bowed in greeting. Emperor Xuanqian was the first master of Xuanqian Tower. He was a peak emperor tens of millions of years ago, and 1,000,000 years ago he even killed 3 peak emperor-level monsters. I thought he was also seriously injured and had died, but I didn't expect that the old man was still alive. Fellow Taoists, there's no need to be so formal. Since you've all decided to go to Zhangzhou to demand an explanation, then I shall lead the way, shall I? Ha ha ha, Xuantian, it's been 600,000 years. I didn't expect you to still be alive. Another booming voice rang out. Upon seeing this, the emperors recognized the Shadow Emperor, the third-generation sect leader of the Shadow Sect, as a peak emperor. Shadow, it's rumored that you mysteriously perished together with 2 peak emperor-level beings 500,000 years ago. Who knew you'd die in an explosion? You're quite the schemer, Emperor Xuanqian laughed. Ha, you're no different. You killed 3 peak emperor-level monsters and then pretended to be dead and went into seclusion. The Shadow Emperor showed no respect whatsoever to the Xuantian Emperor. All right, stop arguing, don't delay the important matter. Just then, 2 more peak-level emperors appeared before the assembled emperors. The great emperor of the Phoenix clan. Everyone was startled again. The Phoenix clan truly lives up to its reputation as one of the super-dominant races that existed since the ancient times, casually producing 2 peak-level emperors. Nanling Nanaming, within the Vermilion Bird, ancestral divine mountain. Is the Dragon Clan going to attack Zhangzhou? Do you want to participate? Certainly. Then let's go. Okay. Upon learning of the Dragon Clan's attack on Zhangzhou, the behemoths of all regions were greatly shaken. Some ancient overlord races that had long-standing ties with the Dragon Clan also dispatched their emperors to Zhangzhou to cause a stir. Chapter 193 at worst will sink Zhangzhou. Xuanyuan, hand over the Emperor of 10,000 Fires, or my clan will raise the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty to the ground today, Zhu Weiying threatened with a face full of disdain. Upon hearing this request, the Yellow Emperor was immediately taken aback. Yi Ziu offended the Dragon Clan. When did that happen? How come he didn't know anything about it? The emperors of Zhangzhou, behind Emperor Xuanyuan, were also taken aback. No wonder the Dragon Emperors came knocking. It turns out the great Emperor of 10,000 Fires offended the Dragon Palace. Judging from this situation, the feud between the great Emperor of 10,000 Fires and the Dragon Clan seems to run deep. Emperor Wanhuo returned to Zhangzhou 3 months ago, but before returning, he hunted down countless top geniuses of the Eastern Wilderness. It can be said that the conflict between the great Emperor of 10,000 Fires and the Eastern Wilderness has reached a point of no return. They already feel immense pressure from just the Dragon Palace's visit. If the other emperors of the Eastern Wilderness were to arrive, they would have no chance of victory. The Eastern Wilderness side has a legitimate reason to attack, while the Central State is in the wrong. In addition, the Myriad Fire Emperor has a very bad reputation in the Central State, so there will be very few emperors willing to take action later. At the very least, they won't make a move. Their arrival surprised Emperor Xuanyuan not only because he was a late-stage emperor, but also because he was a member of the Central Plains. Faced with the attack from the Eastern Wilderness, the major powers of the Central Continent would naturally not stand idly by. Now that they know the Dragon Clan came to Zhangzhou not to cause trouble, but to punish Emperor Wanhuo, the most disliked scum in Zhangzhou, the fighting spirit of the emperors of Zhangzhou instantly diminished. The emperors of Zhangzhou were extremely unwilling to fight against the Dragon Clan, a dominant race that ruled the heavens and earth. Ordinary demonic beasts have stronger physical bodies than ordinary human cultivators of the same level, and dragons have physical bodies that far surpass those of super demonic beasts of the same level. Asking them to fight a dragon emperor is a joke. Now that the emperors know that the Dragon Clan only wants people, and that the one they hate the most is the great Emperor of 10,000 Fires, Yi Ziu, the emperors are naturally overjoyed. They still clearly remembered the grudges Yi Ziu inflicted on the Xuanyuan Emperor and Qingshuan Empress by slaughtering their respective family members in order to ensure the Xuanyuan Emperor and Qingshuan Empress's ascension to the throne. If Emperor Xuanyuan hadn't been a late-stage emperor and Empress Qingshuan a peak emperor, they would have long ago scattered that little beast Wan Hu's ashes. Asking them to protect the Emperor of 10,000 Fires, dream on. The emperors of Zhangzhou looked at each other, each seeing the schadenfreude in the other's eyes. Then, they tacitly stepped back, excluding the emperors who supported Emperor Wanhuo Yiziu. This retreat created an extremely awkward situation, as if the air itself had frozen in place. The once majestic face of the Yellow Emperor was now as black as if it had been splashed with ink, so black that it seemed as if ink could drip out, and his gloomy expression sent chills down one's spine. The old man Tianji stared blankly at the seemingly amicable scoundrels behind him. He never expected that at this crucial moment, these usually amiable old fellows would all become so cowardly. The mere presence of a small dragon palace terrified them, and they immediately cowered in fear. "You bunch of good-for-nothings!" The old man Tianji was furious. His trembling finger pointed at the cowardly bastards behind him, his eyes filled with disappointment and anger. Even as an early-stage emperor who wasn't particularly skilled in warfare, he possessed the courage to confront things head-on. Yet these bastards had chosen to settle things peacefully, an act that filled him with immense heartache and shame. Now it seems that these so-called immortal sects, immortal lineages, and eternally prosperous clans are nothing but incompetent cowards who bully the weak and fear the strong. They usually put on an air of superiority, but when faced with real problems, they all cower like turtles, showing absolutely no sense of responsibility. Just then, the great emperor of Zhangzhou, whose blood energy was clearly depleted, finally arrived late. Looking at the anxious old man of Heavenly Secrets, he quickly comforted him. "Don't panic, Heavenly Secrets, I'm here to help you." Upon hearing this, the Heavenly Mystery Elder felt a surge of warmth in his heart. He looked gratefully at the late-arriving Emperor of Central Continent, the Azure Pill Emperor, and said, "Pavilion Master, you've come at just the right time. These people from the Dragon Palace actually want us to hand over the myriad flames. This is simply too much. We absolutely cannot agree to their unreasonable demands." Emperor Tianqing nodded, his imposing presence radiating without anger. "Indeed, Wan Huo saved my life and is the hope of our central continent. We absolutely cannot hand over Wan Huo." "Well said. No matter what, Wan Huo is still a person of Zhangzhou. Anyone who dares to betray Zhangzhou will face my wrath." Just then, a great emperor riding a sword descended upon the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty. The terrifying sword intent surged, like a lightning bolt tearing through the sky. Sometimes it cleaved like a thunderbolt, as if splitting the heavens and earth with a huge rift. Sometimes it thrust out like a venomous snake emerging from its hole, its endless sharpness aimed directly at the enemy's vitals. Sometimes it slashed fiercely like a raging hurricane, each strike containing the power to destroy everything. And sometimes it slashed fiercely like a thunderbolt in fury, the space itself seemingly being torn apart wherever the sword intent passed. The Heaven-Splitting Blade Emperor. It's actually the Heaven-Splitting Blade Emperor. I never imagined he was a friend of the Myriad Fire Emperor, exclaimed a Saint King from the Imperial City. Great, the great Emperor Xuanyuan is saved. With the help of a powerful figure like the Heaven-Splitting Blade Emperor, we will surely be able to turn the tide. Hope shone in the eyes of the people in the Imperial City, and an inexplicable sense of excitement surged in their hearts. The Heaven-Splitting Blade Emperor is a super-strong expert who is halfway to the peak of the Great Emperor realm. With the Heaven-Splitting Blade Emperor here, we will definitely be able to. Town, a powerful imperial voice rang out, and the sword intent that filled his head vanished instantly. The Heaven-Splitting Sword Emperor even spat out a mouthful of sword blood, and his aura plummeted. Merely a half-step peak cultivator, trash. A figure stepped out from among the Dragon Emperors. Upon seeing this dragon, the Heavenly Mystery Elder and the Azure Emperor were both startled. The Shadow Emperor, a member of the dark holy dragon lineage of the Dragon Clan, possesses an innate bloodline mutation and is a terrifying being on the verge of becoming a peerless being. He is one of the most bloodthirsty emperors among the Dragon Clan. There is a saying in the Eastern Wilderness, "No one at the pinnacle can rival the Shadow Emperor at his peak." In just one sentence, the power of the Shadow Emperor was summarized. "Shadow Emperor, I didn't expect you to come." The sky-splitting Blade Emperor's eyes were full of fighting spirit as he looked at the Shadow Emperor with eager anticipation. The Shadow Emperor ignored him and instead looked at Emperor Xuanyuan. "Xuanyuan boy, what do you think?" Emperor Xuanyuan's heart trembled, and he hurriedly bowed to Emperor Dark Shadow. "Senior Emperor Dark Shadow, Yiziu is my beloved friend. You asked me to betray my brother with just a word. I cannot agree to this request." The Yellow Emperor looked at the Shadow Emperor with righteous indignation. but inwardly he was filled with bitterness. The Yellow Emperor wasn't unwilling to hand over the people. Rather, he had just been engaged in a passionate pique with his good brother Yi Ziu when the Dragon Clan emperors suddenly descended, catching him completely off guard. Forced to hastily end the visit, it turned out that the Dragon Clan's target was Yi Ziu. He was completely incapable of making friends. If the world were to see Yi Ziu in this state, the reputation of Emperor Xuanyuan would be utterly ruined. Ha ha ha, Xuanyuan boy, you're right. How could I, the great emperor of Zhangzhou, bow down to the eastern barbarians? As soon as he finished speaking, a figure appeared out of thin air beside the great Emperor Xuanyuan. The Supreme Emperor, one of only two Supreme Emperors among the human race of Zhangzhou. Star Emperor. Peerless, let this old man meet you. A powerful imperial voice, as resounding as a great bell, echoed in the air like rolling thunder, seemingly able to penetrate the endless void and reach beyond the 9 heavens. Among the many emperors of the Dragon Clan, one emperor slowly emerged, who was also a Supreme Emperor. His figure was as majestic as a mountain. His eyes shone with a mysterious light like brilliant stars, and he exuded an unparalleled aura of power, as if he could suppress all things in the world. Dragon Clan Supreme, if you lead your clan away from here immediately, I can show leniency and pretend this never happened. The Starry Sky Ancient Emperor's face was full of domineering power, and a hint of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. His domineering words were like sharp swords piercing straight at the Supreme Emperor opposite him. Heh, the Dragon Clan's supreme expert slightly raised his head and let out a disdainful snort. His icy gaze swept over the Star Emperor like ice. You, why should I leave? How could my Dragon Clan fear you? The firmness and fearlessness in his words fully revealed the soul of the Dragon Clan. Are you really going to insist on going your own way and start a war between the two realms? The Star Emperor's deep star-like eyes narrowed slightly, a hint of shock and worry flashing within them. He seemed not to have expected that the Dragon Clan's pinnacle would be so resolute. Once the war between the two domains breaks out, it will inevitably lead to widespread suffering and death, which is an outcome he does not want to see. However, as the ancient Emperor of the Stars, he will never back down. Ha ha ha, Long Xing, why are you wasting your breath on this kid? At worst, we'll just crush Zhangzhou. At this moment, an equally invincible imperial voice resounded throughout Zhangzhou. The Phoenix Clan's Supreme Emperor, Huang Jiyushin. Ha ha ha, well said, at worst we'll sink Zhangzhou. Long Xing laughed heartily. The people of Zhangzhou. A battle in the void, the ancient Emperor of Stars solemnly challenged. Phoenix 9 Heavens, Dragon Journey, give this blood offering to me. Another invincible imperial voice resounded throughout the world. The Supreme Emperor of the White Tiger Holy Clan, Lu. Lu shot straight up to the heavens, giving Long Xing and Huang Jiyushin no chance to refuse. Long Xing and Huang Jiyushin exchanged a smile. They were helpless against Lu. The White Tiger Holy Clan was one of the 4 spirits of heaven and earth and was in charge of killing. As its name suggests, the tiger loved killing. Are there still any people left in Zhangzhou? The Shadow Emperor looked at the emperors of Zhangzhou. A light laugh rang out. P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 194. The Great Emperor Xuanyuan bows his head. Are you all so unscrupulous? Do you think there's no one left in Zhangzhou? A royal voice, seemingly pouring down from the heavens yet also sounding intimately close, echoed through the valley. It contains boundless majesty and overwhelming power, as if it can make all things in the world tremble in fear. The kingly aura emanating from that voice was like a sharp sword, ready to be drawn at any moment to cut down all evil and arrogance that dared to offend the Central Plains. At that moment, the entire world seemed to become solemn because of this imperial voice, inspiring awe in everyone. It was as if one could see the high and mighty emperor looking down on this land, his eyes flashing with a cold light, ready to give the most severe punishment to those who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Yuanqi, stop with the pretense and get out of your hiding place right now. This roar exploded in the void like thunder, causing ripples to spread throughout the surrounding space and time. Immediately afterwards, a handsome young man stepped out from among the dragon emperors. He exuded an unparalleled aura as if he could crush the entire universe. A violent tremor ran through the void, and then a figure slowly emerged. He was an elderly man with white hair, holding a whisk in his hand, his expression leisurely yet subtly exuding an air of authority. This old man is the primordial emperor, a being of heaven and earth who has lived through countless ages. His clan affiliation remains unknown to the outside world, and his true strength is shrouded in mystery, making him difficult to fathom. The only thing that everyone knows is that the primordial ancient emperor once personally killed a supreme emperor, which shows how powerful and terrifying he was. The primordial ancient emperor stood quietly before all living beings, as if nothing in the world could stir his emotions, yet his invisible aura commanded respect from everyone. Zhu Jihin, I never expected you to choose to revive. The ancient emperor of the primordial beginning raised the corners of his mouth and looked at Zhu Jiyin with a kind smile. With an old meddlesome fellow like you around, I naturally have to come out and stretch my muscles. Zhu Jiyin's lips curled into a faint smile, as if he didn't care at all about the evaluation of the primordial ancient emperor. The primordial ancient emperor nodded slightly, his gaze like two sharp swords piercing through endless space, casually glancing at Ao Yuan. After a moment, the primordial ancient emperor slowly spoke. This child is exceptionally talented and will surely achieve great things. Zhu Jiyin nodded slightly, a gesture that seemed casual yet contained a silent agreement. The man and the dragon faced each other, but unlike the two supreme emperors in the void, they did not fight or duel. None of the emperors, including the dragons and other ancient overlord races, chose to interrupt or say anything. The reason is simple. These two are not supreme emperors, but rather mortal immortals. Although these ancient overlord races all have mortal immortal ancestors, they wouldn't be so foolish as to provoke such beings. Such a being might not kill him out of respect for his ancestor, but he would definitely give him a good beating. If a great emperor were to be beaten up in public, he would truly lose all face. After a long silence, the primordial ancient emperor sighed. Enough, I will not interfere in this matter. The primordial ancient emperor sighed softly and slowly disappeared from everyone's sight. Yi Xiu's Dao heart was shattered, and the immortal seed's fortune was also broken beyond repair, making it no longer worth offending the dragon clan for him. Seeing the primordial ancient emperor leave, Ao Yuan couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. The reason Yi Xiu was able to keep his reckless ways and never die in the original future trajectory was because the old man, the primordial ancient emperor, secretly intervened. Now that Yi Xiu's destiny halo has been shattered, and his Dao heart has been reduced to dust by Feng Tianyu, the primordial ancient emperor has wisely chosen to give up. What the hell is this old man? How can he be so cowardly? He was scared away by just a glance from the dragon emperor. What a loser, an ignorant great sage muttered speechlessly. I thought he was some hidden, peerless old monster, but it turns out he's just an incompetent coward. Another ordinary Saint King cultivator chimed in. I think he's just showing off and increasing his fame. A saint-level cultivator from the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty commented. A very small number of cultivators, who did not know the name of the primordial ancient emperor, made sarcastic remarks, unaware that their luck and destiny were plummeting at an unbelievable speed. It's over, it's over. Our Xuanyuan immortal dynasty is truly finished this time. I think we should just hand over the myriad fire emperor in exchange for the peace of the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty. Yes, Emperor Xuanyuan has done enough. Emperor Wanhuo has incurred the enmity of the dragon clan, so let Emperor Wanhuo bear the burden alone. Your Majesty, Emperor Xuanyuan, you don't need to pretend anymore. We understand you, and we won't blame you. Emperor Xuanyuan, if it really doesn't work out, then forget it. We need you, the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty needs you. Don't hesitate, I believe Emperor Wanhuo will understand you. Your Majesty, the Xuanyuan Emperor, the whole world has witnessed what you did to Your Majesty, the Myriad Fires Emperor. You don't need to blame yourself. It wasn't your fault. Your Majesty, Emperor Xuanyuan, please let go. Don't face an opponent you can't possibly defeat alone. Yes, Your Majesty, the Xuanyuan Emperor, your affection for Your Majesty, the Myriad Fires Emperor, is as clear as day. I believe Your Majesty, the Myriad Fires Emperor, would not want to see someone die in vain for her sake. On the ground, countless cultivators from the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty shouted to the Xuanyuan emperor in the sky, urging him not to make futile resistance. Hearing these nonsensical words, Emperor Xuanyuan was deeply moved, but at the same time he was also on the verge of tears. The Yellow Emperor didn't want to hand over Yi Xiu, but Yi Xiu's current appearance couldn't be shown to the public, let alone be known by a third living being. Otherwise, he would really be dead. Tianyu, let's hand over Yi Xiu. At this moment, Empress Qingshuan Shangyuan Qingyi, dressed in gorgeous attire, arrived at the scene in a hurry, like a fairy descending to earth. Her clear, cool eyes revealed a deep complexity, a mixture of affection, surprise, helplessness, regret, reluctance to part, and pain. It was as if they had made some difficult decision. The Yellow Emperor turned his head slightly, a fleeting emotion flashing in his eyes. He glanced at Shangyuan Qingyi, who had deliberately arrived late, and pondered something in his heart, but remained silent on the surface. "You Xuanyuan scum, hand over the myriad flames at once, or we will raise the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty to the ground today." The Xuantian emperor, leading the emperors of the eastern wilderness, arrived with overwhelming force. Each emperor was clad in armor and wielded imperial weapons, their eyes gleaming with a blazing light, as if they wanted to burn everything in front of them to ashes. Emperor Xuanyuan, the traitor Wan Hu, attempted to commit atrocities against my clan's imperial daughter. Hand over Wan Hu, or I will smash this wretched palace to the ground today. The Jai family emperor was filled with rage, looking as if he would not rest until Yi Ziu was dead. Emperor Xuanyuan, the villain Wan Hu, has murdered my sect's successor. Hand over Wan Hu, or we will fight to the death. Xuanyuan, the traitor Wan Hu, killed my successor and stole my sect's imperial weapon. If you do not hand over Wan Hu and return the imperial weapon today, I will make sure your Xuanyuan immortal dynasty is stained with blood. Upon hearing this, Ao Yuan immediately looked at the system. System, you took the emperor weapon. Ding, host, those things had a subtle causal relationship with you and have been automatically deleted by the system. Ao Yuan, Xuanyuan, you don't want to provoke a war between the two domains and face the entire eastern wilderness alone, do you? The Yellow Emperor's face darkened, and a sudden impulse arose in his heart to rush up and kill the other party. Xuanyuan, hand over the myriad flames, and we will retreat immediately. The Shadow Emperor coldly swept his gaze across the Central Plains Emperor. Young Xuanyuan, have you made up your mind? The Shadow Emperor stared coldly at Emperor Xuanyuan. The Yellow Emperor felt a chill in his heart, knowing he was no match for the Dragon Emperor. He could only sigh and compromise, saying, I can hand over Wan Hu, but Wan Hu is, after all, my beloved friend. Please grant me a quarter of an hour to see my good brother off. Agreed. Long Exing nodded, agreeing to Emperor Xuanyuan's final request. Chapter 195, The Death of Yi Ziu. 15 minutes later, as promised, Emperor Xuanyuan reappeared before everyone, carrying Yi Ziu, who was bound hand and foot. Everyone, Wan Hu is here. Please check. Emperor Xuanyuan looked heartbroken. His voice was deep and powerful, echoing in the air as if it had a magical power that allowed everyone present to feel his pain and helplessness. He gently swung the rope in his hand, signaling that everyone could come forward to take a look. Yi Ziu was bound tightly. Her expression was dejected. Her eyes were lifeless, as if she had suffered some kind of inhuman torture. The surrounding crowd immediately stirred, and everyone crowded around, craning their necks to see who was causing such a stir among the proud talents of the eastern wilderness. Some people looked puzzled, while others wore expressions of schadenfreude. They whispered among themselves, discussing the ins and outs of the matter. Everyone, I am already aware of what Wan Hu has done in the eastern wilderness. Although I have deep feelings for Wan Hu, he disregards the bottom line of righteousness and takes pleasure in killing juniors as an emperor. His crimes are too numerous to count. Although I, Shangyuan Qingyi, am a woman, I am a righteous person. Today, before the eyes of countless beings across the 5 regions and 4 seas, I hereby declare, I, Shangyuan Qingyi, sever all ties with Yi Ziu. From this day forward, I, Empress Qingshuan, have no further connection with Yi Ziu, Shangyuan Qingyi hurriedly announced loudly. He incited the anger of the emperors of the eastern wilderness, leading them to immediately execute Yi Ziu as a warning to others and conceal the secrets of that year. Good, a loud and passionate shout suddenly came from the imperial city on the ground, as if it were a shout bursting from the depths of the soul, echoing between this ancient world. As expected of Empress Qingshuan, she dares to love and hate. It is truly a blessing for the righteous path of Zhangzhou to have Empress Qingshuan. The speaker's eyes shone with reverence, and his tone was full of praise for Empress Qingshuan. The next moment her words suddenly changed, filled with deep regret and indignation. Poor Empress Qingshuan, she endured 3,000 years of loneliness for Yi Ziu. For the past 3,000 years, Empress Qingshuan has refused to have any contact with any male emperors, and even resolutely severed ties with Emperor Xuanyuan to avoid suspicion. In the end, all I got was this disgusting, stupid thing. As he spoke, the man couldn't help but burst into tears, tears welling up in his eyes as if he wanted to pour out all the pain in his heart. Empress Qingshuan is so pitiful. How could Yi Ziu be so vicious, putting Empress Qingshuan in such a dilemma and making things so difficult for her? Doesn't he know how much Empress Qingshuan has sacrificed for him? He's simply a heartless and ruthless devil. His voice was filled with anger and accusation, as if he wanted to tear Yi Ziu to pieces. This Yi Ziu is a complete scumbag. Not only did he harm cultivators of all races and commit such an unforgivable crime, but he also cruelly betrayed Empress Qingshuan. It is truly an outrage against heaven and earth. Kill Yi Ziu, kill this bastard, kill this beast! The crowd's eyes burned with raging anger. Their hatred for Yi Ziu had penetrated to the bone, and they wished they could tear him to pieces. Hearing the indignant shouts of the crowd below, a smile flashed in Shangyuan Qingyi's eyes. The Yellow Emperor was shocked. At this moment his fear of Shangyuan Qingyi deepened. The beings on the ground were shouting in protest, but the emperors in the sky remained unmoved. Their gazes were all fixed on the dragon emperors, quietly awaiting the dragon's judgment of Yi Ziu. Seeing that the time was about right, Ao Yuan hurriedly stepped forward and respectfully requested, "Ancestor, please let this person be killed by me." "Ha ha ha, since you want to make a move, then it's up to you." Zhu Jian laughed loudly, directly declaring Yi Ziu's fate. "Thank you, Ancestor." Ao Yuan quickly bowed in gratitude. Having received affirmation from Zhu Jian of the Hongqian immortal clan, Ao Yuan stepped forward, and the Xuanyuan Emperor tactfully tossed Yi Ziu, whom he had just toyed with, to Ao Yuan. Ao Yuan took Yi Ziu and had the system check. Sure enough, the Xuanyuan Emperor had tampered with Yi Ziu's body, sealing his 5 senses and making him completely unable to perceive anything from the outside world. Is he afraid Yi Ziu will reveal the truth? Ao Yuan smiled inwardly. Then he turned to look at the first ancestor, Zhu Jian. "First ancestor, please release the restrictions within this person's body. This junior has some questions to ask." Zhu Jian smiled faintly and unleashed a burst of immortal power, instantly erasing the 9,000 restrictions set up by Emperor Xuanyuan. Hiss, Yi Ziu couldn't help but let out a hiss. "Where am I?" Yi Ziu looked up, still feeling dizzy. She was shocked to discover that she had encountered Ao Yuan, the Dragon Prince, once again in her lifetime. Smack! Ao Yuan slapped him hard across the face. A clear handprint appeared on Yi Ziu's face instantly, and Yi Ziu also woke up at the same time. Yi Ziu then realized that she was surrounded by the great emperor and had fallen into Ao Yuan's hands. Fortunately, she was no longer in Feng Tianyu's monstrous secret room. Thinking of Feng Tianyu, Yi Ziu's legs tightened involuntarily, and her delicate body trembled. Physical pain and mental torment led Yi Ziu to leave behind 2 cold, indifferent lines. Yi Ziu had lost all will to live. Compared to living a life worse than death at Feng Tianyu's hands, she would rather be slapped to death by Ao Yuan. Smack! Ao Yuan countered with another powerful palm strike, transforming spiritual energy into a massive force. "What are you crying for? You're a great emperor, don't act like a woman," Ao Yuan said sarcastically with disdain. After being slapped, Yi Ziu slowly regained his senses upon hearing Ao Yuan's words. Upon seeing this scene, Shangyuan Qingyi and Feng Tianyu suddenly felt a chill run down their spines, and a bad premonition silently arose. "Oh no," both of them felt a sudden panic. Ao Yuan revealed a playful smile. "Yi Ziu, before you die, do you have anything to say?" Looking into Ao Yuan's threatening eyes, Yi Ziu swallowed hard and instantly understood what Ao Yuan meant. Whether to die a quick death or suffer a fate worse than death, Yi Ziu wisely chose the former this time. Although Ao Yuan did indeed mess with her a few times in the lower realm, playing with people in the lower realm was never a big deal for the upper realm, especially since Ao Yuan had come up with a whole bunch of reasons. As for the matter of the geniuses of the various tribes in the eastern wilderness, since these emperors were unable to find Ao Yuan, it would be useless for her to say it, as she had no evidence. Even if she tells the truth, it won't affect Ao Yuan, but it will definitely put her in another terrible situation. In a few seconds, Yi Ziu understood. In her current wretched state, there's no way she can survive. Even if she did, she'd only be a cauldron chained with a dog. Rather than living a life worse than death, she might as well end it all now. "I do have something else to say." Yi Ziu glared at Shangyuan Qingyi and Feng Tianyu with a ferocious expression. Ao Yuan nodded. "Speak." Yi Ziu nodded and shouted, "Feng Tianyu, you scum, you're a heartless beast. Not only did you kill me 3,000 years ago, but you've also subjected me to inhumane sexual acts for the past 3 months. And Shangyuan Qingyi, you bitch. I've never wronged you in any way, yet you colluded with Feng Tianyu, causing my death in the Forbidden Land, and even had sex with him right in front of me." Yi Ziu angrily berated Shangyuan Qingyi and Feng Tianyu, even becoming so agitated that he spoke incoherently, repeating himself several times before everyone understood the truth. "Is this true?" The Shadow Emperor's gaze swept unabashedly over Shangyuan Qingyi and Feng Tianyu. "It doesn't seem like acting. Emperor Xuantian nodded solemnly. No wonder Yi Ziu turned out that way. It turns out he was stimulated by something like this. The great emperor of the Jai family nodded thoughtfully. The old man Tianji was so shocked that his eyes burst out of their sockets, staring blankly at his former good brother Yi Ziu. The entire audience erupted in uproar. At this moment, silence speaks louder than words. After a long while, Yi Ziu calmly looked at Ao Yuan. Ao Yuan, make your move. I don't want to live anymore, so give me a quick death. Yi Ziu, who looked like he was facing death head-on, even had a rare smile on his face. It's clear that Yi Ziu really wants to be free. Ao Yuan nodded, released Yi Ziu, and watched Yi Ziu fall downwards. Ao Yuan then decisively unleashed a pure white pillar of fire. The Heavenly Heart's sacred flame fire was obtained by Ao Yuan from Waying Chang. Watching the flames draw ever closer, Yi Ziu's eyes were filled with joy. Great, I'm finally free. Ding, congratulations, host, for successfully killing Yi Ziu, the Chosen One. Mission complete. You have received a Chosen One Kill Gift Pack X1, which has been sent to your system space. Please check it yourself. System is entering task settlement. Host item, Destiny Kill Gift Pack X1. Host's villain value, 9,999,999. 99,999,999. Remaining unbinding time, 2 days. P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 196, Everything Returns to Normal, Fantasy Volume Side Story. Ao Yuan Volume Brief Explanation. As soon as Yi Ziu died, Ao Yuan immediately shouted in a low voice, System, open the Destiny Kill Gift Pack. Ding, the Destiny Kill Gift Pack has been successfully used. Congratulations, host, you have received Extreme Grade Bellyband X1, a top-tier defensive Imperial weapon capable of changing its appearance at will. Void Spear X1, a top-tier spatial attack weapon virtually impossible to defend against. Primordial Dragon Source Fruit X1, containing the breath of the primordial ancestral dragon, can restore bloodline to its ancestral form and evolve. Hunyuan Yin Yang Array ×1, a Xuanxian-level trapping array, integrating functions such as amplification, weakening, imprisonment, defense, and killing, and possessing a series of secondary abilities such as time acceleration, deceleration, and stripping. The complete edition of the Scripture of 10,000 Saints, originally titled the Scripture of 10,000 Paths, is a celestial-level cultivation technique. Yi Ziu, the Chosen One, obtained a fragment of it in his previous life, renamed it the Scripture of 10,000 Saints, and claimed it as his own creation. Upon seeing the final reward, Ao Yuan suddenly realized that Yi Ziu's cheat was a cultivation technique, which explained why he hadn't seen it at all. Ao Yuan glanced at the one-time cultivation technique Jade slipped casually, but did not use it. The Myriad Paths Bible was completely incomparable to the 8-9 Profound technique. Having cultivated the 8-9 Arcane technique, Ao Yuan had absolutely no interest in the complete version of the technique that Yi Ziu had failed to find even in his death. After processing the cultivation technique Jade Slip, Ao Yuan turned his attention to the system shop. Heavenly Overlord Body, 5 million villain values. Ancient Sacred Body, 7 million villain values. The Holy Body of 10,000 Flames, 6 million villain values. Sky-Piercing Battle Body, 3 million villain values. Calamity Poison Body, 4 million villain values. Supreme Bone, random, 9 million villain points. Fiery Golden Eyes, 8 million villain values. Ancient Double Pupils, 10 million villain values. Three-Eyed Azure Wave Pupil, 3 million villain values. Sharp Eyes, 20 million villain points. Golden Eyes of Truth, 8 billion villain points. Devouring Demon Jar, Ultimate Imperial Weapon, 60 million villain points. Extreme Dao Bellyband, Extreme Dao Imperial Weapon, 80 million villain points. Divine Magnetic Treasure Mirror, Ultimate Imperial Weapon, 70 million villain points. Purifying Lotus Demon Flame, 60 million villain points. Red Lotus Karmic Fire, 10 million villain values. Nanaming Li Huo, 10 million villain values. Void Devouring Flame, 70 million villain values. 6 Ding Divine Fire, 100 million villain values. Ao Yuan carefully examined the items for several days before finally exchanging them for a special divine ability. He then used the remaining villain points to exchange for some special pills. 2 days later, Ding, the Destiny villain system has been successfully unbound. A cold voice rang out, and Chen Zhou, the villainous system of Destiny, completely left the 5 domains and 4 seas. Ao Yuan stared blankly at the sky, silently thinking, goodbye, system. The next moment, ding, the Destiny Villain system invites you to join the multiverse chat group. Ao Yuan stared blankly at the unusual scene deep within his sea of consciousness. A person cries, he chunk you. Oh, newcomer, welcome. West Heaven War Emperor Wang Heianen. Finally, more people have arrived. We've been waiting for this for ages. West Heaven War Emperor Wang Heianen. If we don't make a move soon, I'll be old and dying. Saving Lord Li Feiyu at Western Heaven War Emperor Wang Heianen. Aren't you only 70 years old? According to your cultivation level, you've only lived a third of your life. Were you beaten up? I charged in and out of Changbin 7 times, Zhao Zilong. Think about whether you've tried your best. You're 70 years old. If you can't break through on your own soil, why don't you try on another planet? Starry Sky Ice Emperor, Chu Ci's widow, you can build spaceships now. Disdainful JPG. Zhao Zilong, who charged in and out of Changbin Slope 7 times. Wife, haven't I been learning all this? Awkward laugh. Heavenly Emperor Chu Luoli, Chu Yangtze. Her expression gradually becomes ugly. Lai Zhenjun Li Feiyu, the savior from suffering, haha, little girl, you're jealous. Laughs wildly. Heavenly Emperor Chu Luoli, Chu Yangtze. Believe it or not, I'm coming to beat you up right now. 2 punches. West Heaven War Emperor Wang Heianen. I charged in and out of Changbin 7 times, Zhao Zilong. A person is crying, he chunk you. Lai Feiyu, the savior from suffering, you can come here. Shocking JPG. Quick transmigration system Zio Chi, I can do it. He JPG. Heavenly Emperor Chu Luoli, Chu Yangtze. I can go to your world, but I cannot take you away, nor can I bring you anything beyond the boundaries. Chu Yangtze leaned back in her chair and earnestly explained to those guys. She can indeed go to other worlds, but it requires a lot of points, and she cannot interfere with the world's trajectory. For example, taking spirit stones to places where there are no spirit stones is not allowed. Chu Yangtze, the teacher sternly called out her name in the classroom. You're not paying attention in class, go stand at the back. The teacher scolded, exasperated. Chu Yangtze nodded and walked empty-handed to the back of the classroom, while her classmates suppressed gloating smiles. Chu Yangtze, you even dare to daydream in Li Yanluo's class, you're something else, the classmate said, giving Chu Yangtze a thumbs up. Chu Yangtze didn't answer, walked to the corner and continued to slack off. Starry Sky Ice Emperor, Chu Ci's widow, I see. West Heaven War Emperor Wang Heianen. Alas, what a pity, disappointed. Heavenly Emperor Chu Luoli, Chu Yangtze, you'll have to figure it out yourselves. I'll come see you when I have time. Lai Feiyu, the savior from suffering. Beautiful ladies, let's get close. Deliberately grinning mischievously. Starry Sky Ice Emperor, Chu Ci's widow. Zai, let me know before you come so I can arrange my time. A person crying, he chunk you, I have time. Confident JPG. West Heaven War Emperor Wang Heianen. I'm just a nobody. I told you before I came, so don't scare me. Heavenly Emperor Chu Luoli, Chu Yangtze. Okay, I told you all before I came. Seeing everyone chatting amongst themselves in the group, Ao Yuan, after some trial and error, introduced himself. Fellow Taoist, please wait. Ao Yuan, hello everyone, my name is Ao Yuan. Lai Feiyu, the savior from suffering, hello. I charged in and out of Changbin 7 times, Zhao Zilong. We're all brothers, no need to be so formal. West Heaven War Emperor Wang Heianen. Yes, we're all on the same side. Don't worry about formalities, let's chat. The multiverse chat group became lively again. Chen Zhou glanced at it briefly, then turned around and went to submit his task for settlement. Epilogue. After Chen Zhou left, Ao Yuan's life returned to peace. He cultivated, practiced dual cultivation, and went on adventures in secret realms. Occasionally, he would take Wang Chang on trips, balancing work and rest. Peace gradually returned to the 5 regions and 4 seas, and the geniuses of each race were cultivating steadily and systematically at their own pace, preparing for the war of the myriad races and the great struggle of the future. This is the calm before the storm, but even in peace there is no shortage of strife. This is a fantasy world where the strong prey on the weak. It is worth mentioning that shortly after the Xunyuan incident, the Central Plains discovered that Shangyuan Qingyi was involved in some strange activities. Then countless lineages joined forces and used swift and decisive methods to suppress and kill Empress Qingshuan, Shangyuan Qingyi, leading to the destruction of the Tianwu Immortal Palace. Of course, Emperor Xunyuan was also affected. Because of Shangyuan Qingyi's collusion with the strange creatures, the Xunyuan Immortal Dynasty was thoroughly investigated by the Central Plains Righteous Alliance. However, Emperor Xuanyuan stopped the damage in time and did not come into contact with the strange creatures, so he was not killed on the spot. However, one crisis after another caused the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty to decline. In particular, after it was discovered that Emperor Xuanyuan had known about the matter but failed to report it, many outstanding talents switched to other sects, and some forces even directly brought up the Xuanyuan immortal dynasty side stories. The Yellow Emperor could only sigh and watch. Not long after, he announced his abdication and handed over the Yellow Emperor immortal dynasty to his eldest son. Na Yue's cultivation path was relatively stable. Because she disliked fighting and the chosen one Yiziu died, Na Yue did not encounter any major changes. The only time she was scolded was when Na Yue's grandfather discovered that Na Yue's virginity had been broken after she returned home. Nai refused to say who had taken her virginity, and unsurprisingly, she was imprisoned for 5 years. However, this was exactly what Na Yue wanted. During these 5 years of quiet cultivation, Nai mastered the extreme yin array Dao and made it her own. Compared to her original future trajectory, Na Yue now has a clearer and more thorough understanding of formations. After her 5-year confinement ended, Nai also entered the Dao through formations and successfully became a semi-saint. The Nai family did not pursue the matter of Na Yue's yin. After Na Yue emerged from seclusion, several prominent local families came to propose marriage. But upon discovering that Na Yue had lost her virginity, they did not propose marriage and simply offered their congratulations. Later, Na Yue represented the younger generation of the Nai family in the Battle of the 10,000 Races. During the battle, Na Yue met Ao Yuan again. After Ao Yuan explained, Na Yue learned that Ao Yuan was Shen Gongbao. However, because not all the people who entered the Lost Ruins died back then, Na Yue did not publicly date Ao Yuan. Instead, he served as a follower, accompanying Ao Yuan. As expected, after taking away the great Emperor Dao fruit from Jiyu, Ao Yuan killed Jiyu and turned his corpse into a puppet. Then, through a secret method, they found the corpse of the first incarnation of the 9 Nether Emperor, refined it into a new puppet, and secretly took over the 9 Nether land. Jai Ryuoxi was slightly better than Jiyu Supreme, but not by much. Because of Jai Ryuoxi's betrayal and elopement, she lost her status as Empress, and her position in the Dragon Clan plummeted. She never left Ao Yuan's palace in her entire life. The Jai family completely ignored this matter, as if Jai Ryuoxi didn't exist at all. In the future, with the support of the Dragon Clan, the Jai family emperor even sent 2 more talented young women from the Jai family. But these 2 had nothing to do with Ao Yuan. Although dragons have difficulty procreation, they have developed over countless years and have quite a few descendants. Therefore, marriage arrangements cannot be entirely made for Ao Yuan. Since the Jai family emperor was willing to concede, the Dragon Clan naturally did not refuse. 2 more human women and a large dowry would have little impact on the Dragon Clan. Sending a great emperor to guard the Jai family is no big deal. It's just a matter of changing their residence, and the Jai family will cover their own expenses. Such transactions are not uncommon in the history of the dragon race. The dragon race has difficulty conceiving and has little interest in the eastern wilderness. They control the Endless Sea, one of the 4 seas, and occupy the wealthiest part of the eastern wilderness, the East Sea, as well as some secret realms. They are indeed not interested in other places. If you encounter the resources you need, simply bring your imperial weapon to their location for a trade. There's nothing that a spirit crystal can't do. If a spirit crystal can't do something, then reason with the other party and persuade them with virtue. 2.5 years after Yiziu's death, Aoyang ascended to the upper realm. During a training trip, she encountered a beast tide and died. Yun Potion then joined a faction called the Soul Palace. That faction then clashed with another faction of equal strength, and Yun Potion, unfortunately, also died in the conflict. Elder Pan Feng was a bit luckier. He joined a powerful force called the Great Han Dynasty and made unparalleled military achievements during the chaos of Huangshan, eventually rising to the rank of Supreme General. 100 years after Yiziu's death, the strange remnants of the extraterrestrial army returned, but they were quickly crushed by the various major sects, successfully protecting the 5 domains and 4 seas. Without the influence of the heavenly mandate halo, the schemes of the strange forces were all seen through by the emperors of various races. They were well prepared, and although the strange forces were more powerful than before, their impact on the 5 regions and 4 seas was much smaller. 1,300,000 years after Yi Xiu's death, the immortal path was restored, and a supreme true dragon descended from it, explaining why the immortal path had been sealed. It turns out that the immortal realm also encountered a strange invasion. But the immortal realm has won the battle, and by tracing the source, has destroyed the stronghold of the strange forces. Upon learning of this, all the heavens were shaken. Then another 100 years passed, and the immortals hidden in various realms quietly revived and embarked on the path to immortality. After some journey, they finally entered the immortal realm, only to find that the immortals who had no one there were captured and forced to work. The explanation is that the immortal realm has fought countless wars over the years and needs to be rebuilt. The mortal immortal is doing well in the immortal realm and is a good fit for this job. The group of the primordial ancient emperor looked gloomy, but since the red dust immortal could not defeat the immortal king, he had no choice but to work honestly. 10 million years after Yi Xiu's death, Ao Yuan's 9 reincarnations as a red dust immortal came to an end, his strength reaching its limit. After spending 100 years with Wang Chang, a red dust immortal who had reincarnated 7 times, he resolutely stepped onto the path of immortality with the Dragon Clan's ascension token. Unlike the primordial ancient emperor and others, the Dragon Clan had dragons in the immortal realm. Ao Yuan took out a token to prove his identity, registered according to the procedure, and was then taken away by the Dragon Clan of the immortal realm. Volume 6, The End. Chapter 197, I met someone from my hometown. After submitting the task settlement, Chen Zhou began selecting the next task. The tasks in the task list were generally of low level, with the highest level flashing with a faint golden light. Chen Zhou quickly clicked on the task description. Mission, spiritual energy is reviving. I can absorb it indefinitely. Grade, pale gold. Main quest luck value, 2,500,000. Task difficulty, not difficult. Mission objective, Sunday. Mission background. This world is one of spiritual revival, where the cultivation system is non-existent. A college student named Zhou Tian is hit by a car and dies, only to be reborn into the pet snake of his classmate's goddess. Simultaneously, he activates a devouring system, beginning his stealthy development, devouring everything, evolving, and displaying his power and magnificence along the way, ultimately becoming an unparalleled demon ancestor. After reviewing the mission information, Chen Zhou chuckled. A world where spiritual energy is reviving. Interesting. Then Chen Zhou accepted the request without hesitation. Confirm. As Chen Zhou confirmed the success, a notification message popped up on the taskbar screen. Task accepted successfully. Upon successfully accepting the mission, Chen Zhou immediately opened a dimensional portal. Mission world successfully locked. Dimensional anchor point successfully deployed. A spatial passage appeared, and in an instant, Chen Zhou arrived in the world of spiritual qi revival. I can devour infinitely. Beep, a healthy and suitable candidate has been detected, meeting the system binding requirements. System binding 100%. The Destiny Villain system has been successfully bound. Host, Jun Yixian. System, Jun Yixian exclaimed excitedly, jumping to his feet. His once calm eyes now seemed to be ignited with 2 blazing flames, filled with an overwhelming sense of excitement. 22 years, he waited a full 22 years, and today his cheat code has finally arrived. System, I'm ready. No need for introductions, just issue the mission. Jun Yixian's handsome face was filled with boundless excitement, and his eyes shone with a determined light, as if they could penetrate all obstacles and reach the unknown other side. Jun Yixian is not actually from this world, but a transmigrator, a reincarnation. No, it should be said that he was born into another world. Jun Yixian was reading a novel while crossing the street when he was crushed to death by someone who failed to parachute. Deaths are always unexpected. Someone was reading a novel while crossing the street and got hit and killed. But Jun Yixian was unaware of this. Jun Yixian only remembered that he was reading a book called, After Being Angered to Death, I Became the Destiny Villain System, when he was engrossed in reading it. Slap. That's all. When Jun Yixian tried to open his eyes again, he found that he couldn't open them no matter what he did. He thought he had become a vegetable, but after an unknown period of time, he was born. Jun Yixian, the only son of the Jun family, has a different name than in his previous life, but it doesn't matter since he has already lived through his previous life. Although his death was inexplicable and his family will be heartbroken, there's nothing that can be done. After all, he just disappeared without a trace. There were no cars on that road at the time, and he was just playing on his phone. Who would have thought he would just walk away like that? It's unbelievable. This world is very similar to Jun Yixian's original world, but there are slight differences in history and culture. But having studied diligently since childhood, Jun Yixian has come to accept these things. The only regret is that I never had the kind of cheat code that novels have. It's all about money, money, money. It's so boring and tedious. Chen Zhou glanced at the fellow villager casually, said nothing, and directly issued the task. Ding, main quest, defeat Zhou Tian, the Chosen One. What, killed the Chosen One? I'm the villain. Jun Yixian was stunned. The surname Jun is extremely rare, belonging to a prominent family with assets all over the world. His name is that of a righteous person with profound knowledge, an excellent reputation, and a humble and polite demeanor. He is also a time traveler. Although he is a little lecherous, he always gets what he wants with money. Now he is being told that he is the villain. How can he accept this? Yes, you're the villain. Jun Yixian, Fine, villain it is then. Jun Yixian quickly accepted this harsh reality. He often reads villain novels, and he doesn't dislike this role. The villain's family is united and harmonious, so they won't be ridiculed by passers-by. They have a smooth journey before encountering the protagonist, and apart from their bad luck when dealing with the protagonist, they have all the advantages. Now that we have the villain system, even the last flaw has been eliminated, making it practically a perfect life. System, I've heard that the villain system is incredibly generous and extremely powerful. My newbie gift pack shouldn't be too bad, right? Jun Yixian immediately launched into a barrage of praise. Chen Zhou glanced at the kid and knew that he was no good person, just like him. Ding, congratulations, host. You have received Supreme Super 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 Invincible Beginner's Gift Pack X1, which has been sent to your system space. Please check it yourself. Nice. Jun Yixian's deep eyes instantly lit up with an irrepressible gleam of joy. As expected of a villainous system, even the prefix of this newbie gift pack is so domineering. It's truly an immense fortune. Sure enough, reading novels does have its uses. At least the newbie gift pack won't get stolen, hee. System, open the Supreme, Super, Super, Super Invincible Newbie Gift Pack. Jun Yixian's voice revealed a hint of urgency and anticipation. Jun Yixian stared intently ahead, as if he could see through the void as the gift package was slowly opened, his heart filled with curiosity and longing for the unknown. Ding, the Supreme, Super, Super, Super Invincible Newbie Gift Pack has been successfully used. Congratulations, host. You have acquired the unparalleled talent of perfect fertility and boundless good fortune, the pregnancy-gazing immortal eye. Staring immortal eyes, whoever you stare at will get pregnant. Jun Yixian was speechless. If he had this kind of talent in the ordinary world, he would be beaten to death if he went out. Even in the extraordinary world, this talent would still get him chased and beaten up. Are you sure this isn't a prank on him? System, are you sure you're not messing with me? Jun Yixian asked the Destiny villain system with a dark expression. Ding, host, this talent is indeed a unique concept-level ability in this world. As long as the user's cultivation level doesn't exceed 3 major realms, they cannot be immune to it. Jun Yixian was speechless. He wasn't questioning the strength of the talent, but rather worried that he would be beaten to death. She got pregnant after just one glance while out and about, and the child was even his. How can he explain that? Will others listen? Or is it that others can refrain from taking action? Ding, host, don't worry. The immortal eye can be used without bloodline implantation. Please see the talent introduction for details. Chen Zhou began to earnestly deceive his fellow villagers. Staring immortal eyes. A special talent, the effect is as the name suggests, directly bound to the soul, effective on life forms not exceeding 3 major realms of the user, and can be independently chosen whether to be implanted into one's own bloodline, developed by a demon lord in a cultivation world. Note, immortal-level beings have strong resistance. This only works on beings that are 1 major realm below the user, and success is not guaranteed. After reading the description, Jun Yixian finally understood the extraordinary nature of this heaven-defying talent and accepted its explosive power. Based on this description, who could withstand a fight? Who dares to fight Jun Yixian? P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 198, The Cautious Jun Yixian. After reading the detailed description of staring immortal eyes, Jun Yixian took a deep breath and asked seriously, System, are there any other newbie benefits, such as cultivation techniques and future plot details? Beep, host, the system only has the original future trajectory, or. Upon hearing this, Jun Yixian's heart sank slightly, but he quickly adjusted his mindset. Future trajectory it is then, begin transmission, system I'm ready. With that, Jun Yixian decisively lay back on the ice silk bed behind him. Jun Yixian's body was tense. Every nerve was on high alert, just like a soldier about to go to the battlefield. Having read the novel before, Jun Yixian knew that ordinary people who received the memories and plot would usually suffer from splitting headaches, and in severe cases, even faint. As a seasoned online novel enthusiast, Jun Yixian was fully aware of the entire process. Although he had never experienced it before, Jun Yixian was prepared to fall into a coma. Just bear with it, it will pass. Ding, please fuse with the staring immortal eye first. What, the immortal eyes haven't fused yet? Jun Yixian sat up, looking completely bewildered. Yes, that's right. All right, then let's fuse with the staring immortal eyes first. Jun Yixian adopted a heroic, death-defying expression, as if facing some terrifying force that he had to confront head-on. The words had barely left his mouth when Jun Yixian felt a sudden darkness before his eyes, and the next second, beep, the fusion of the staring immortal eyes is complete. Huh, that's it. Jun Yixian stared blankly at the ceiling. Suddenly, in the blink of an eye, before Jun Yixian could even react, the immortal eyes merged completely. Just playing around. Beep, host, look out the window. It's getting late. The fusion process has lasted 2.5 hours. What, 2.5 hours? Jun Yixian sat up in surprise again. Yes, host. The process of fusing the staring immortal eyes was too painful, so the system blocked all of your senses. It's normal that you can't feel the passage of time. I see, thank you, system, Jun Yixian said politely. It's nothing, just a small thing. Chen Zhou replied in a very serious tone. By shielding Jun Yixian's senses, Chen Zhou not only saved Jun Yixian from pain, but also helped him seal back the cultivation level that had increased during the process of fusing with the staring immortal eye. Used as a reward for the host's future missions, or for the host to purchase with villain points, tilde. The host needs encouragement and occasional treats, but there's no need to give too much. A little something is enough. System, will I accidentally get infected when I look in the mirror? Jun Yixian asked cautiously. As a qualified novel enthusiast, Jun Yixian has seen plenty of skill reflection. Many villains are incredibly powerful from beginning to end, but at crucial moments, the protagonist with low health uses something reflective to reflect the attack, allowing the protagonist to defeat the stronger enemy and successfully turn the tables. In short, it's always better to be cautious. Ding, host, don't worry. According to the law of conservation of energy, using supernatural powers consumes spiritual power, or mental power, or soul power, or life force, or the host has not yet started cultivating and cannot activate the immortal eye supernatural power for the time being. The host need not worry about the backlash from supernatural powers. The immortal eyes are the host's eyes, and eyes cannot harm the body. Therefore, supernatural powers cannot affect the host. So you're saying my eyes are just for show now? Jun Yixian was speechless. He didn't know whether he should laugh or not. The good news was that the supernatural power wouldn't backfire and devour its master, but the bad news was that he couldn't use the supernatural power. Host, you can also interpret it this way. The pupils of the pregnant immortal eyes are very beautiful. Jun Yixian, is this a question of whether it looks good or not? Jun Yixian walked up to the mirror, and sure enough, the pregnant woman's pupils were strangely beautiful. After admiring his own divine eyes, Jun Yixian returned to bed and said earnestly, System, begin transmitting your future trajectory. Beep, future trajectory, transmission initiating. As the system began transmitting memories of future trajectories, a powerful flow of information surged into Jun Yixian's mind, and his consciousness gradually descended into chaos. A moment later, Jun Yixian learned about the life trajectory of Zhou Tian, the chosen one of destiny, and his own tragic end. At 2:30 p.m. on November 12, 3035 of the Great Shang Dynasty, Zhou Tian was hit by a large vehicle and thrown into the air. He performed a perfect spinning and tumbling maneuver in the air before falling into the water, landing in a septic tank, and drowning. Then he was reborn into the body of Xiaobai, the pet snake of Gu Qinghan, the goddess in his class, and at the same time awakened the infinite devouring evolution system. And then he ate and ate. It eats flies, mosquitoes, earthworms, small fish. Basically anything that comes into Zhou Tian's mouth will become evolution points. When the evolution bar is full, it can level up or evolve, just like in a game. Jun Yixian, on the other hand, was a stepping stone on Zhou Tian's path, commonly known as the villain, and was ambushed and killed by Zhou Tian not long after the start of the story. And that was it. Is Zhou Tian a snake or a demon beast? After the spiritual energy revival, the whole world was impacted. The Jun family couldn't find the culprit at all and could only keep issuing bounties in a nonsensical way to find professionals to investigate. Even until the end of the world, the cause of Jun Yixian's death was never found. I never expected Gu Qinghen to be the female lead. It's both unexpected and yet perfectly logical, Jun Yixian said with a calm smile. Gu Qinghen is the undisputed #1 beauty at Keoge University. Jun Yixian was stunned by Gu Qinghen's stunning beauty the moment he saw her. Because of the time travel, Jun Yixian sent people to conduct a thorough investigation of Gu Qinghen on the second day after he enrolled in school. Gu Qinghen's parents both hold important positions in a branch of the Jun family business. They are very capable and have no marriage agreement. Even after receiving this information, Jun Yixian was still uneasy and sent people to Gu Qinghen's hometown to investigate, but they found nothing of the sort, such as a verbal marriage agreement. To be on the safe side, Jun Yixian sent people to investigate major events around the world over the past 30 years. There were no miracle doctors in the country, no special forces teams that wiped out entire groups overseas, and no place like the Northern Territory. Jun Yixian even sent people to investigate all the wealthy and powerful families in the country. There were no sons-in-law who lived with their wives, and Gu Qinghen's network of relationships did not include any illegitimate children of wealthy families or playmates who had suddenly disappeared. Everything was as normal as could be. Similarly, Jun Yixian didn't overlook the overseas side either. There was no Dragon King Palace, no War God Palace, no powerful assassins who had retired from the business, no Asura Palace, no Yama, and certainly no Wolf King or any other nonsense. After investigating, Jun Yixian was relieved to find that everything was normal, and there was no main character involved. There are no problems with the urban setting. As for the protagonists who might be reborn in the future, such as the Immortal Emperor, the Demon Emperor, or those from the Apocalypse, Jun Yixian has no way of investigating them. All Jun Yixian could do was use the process of elimination to rule out characters who were suspected of being the protagonist, and not to bully or humiliate them. Of course, Jun Yixian would not fawn over or grovel to those suspected characters either. He would just quietly be the eldest son of the Jun family, not flaunting his status, nor would he hold back when faced with problems. He would simply be himself. After a series of investigations and analyses, Jun Yixian determined that Gu Qinghen had no hidden risks and began pursuing her normally last month. Unexpectedly, the system arrived today, and Gu Qinghen, unfortunately, turned out to be the female lead, and unsurprisingly, he became the villain. That's outrageous. So all his investigation was for nothing. The spiritual energy is reviving and endlessly absorbing everything. Who could have imagined this? In particular, all the students in the class were thoroughly investigated by Jun Yixian, and there were no problems. Jun Yixian never bullied any of his classmates, and only a handful of people in the class knew his true identity. As a result, Zhou Tian became the main character, which is going to be tough. Chapter 199, Zhou Tian's Funeral. As a beautiful bell rang out, Jun Yixian was suddenly jolted awake from his reverie. He glanced at the caller ID and saw that it was his class monitor, Li Yuer. Jun Yixian pressed the answer button, and the familiar voice of the class monitor came from the other end of the phone. Jun Yixian, something big has happened in the class. What is it, class monitor? Jun Yixian asked, feigning ignorance. The squad leader paused, seemingly hesitant, before continuing. Zhou Tian was in a car accident this afternoon and drowned. The students are all very saddened, and we've been discussing organizing a time to pay our respects to Zhou Tian. You didn't reply to the notification in the class group chat, so I'm calling to let you know. Jun Yixian listened quietly and replied softly. Okay, I understand. Just let me know the specific time after you've discussed it. It would be best if you could do it a few days in advance so that everyone can arrange their time and avoid some people being unable to make it. By the way, squad leader, you said Zhou Tian was in a car accident, but why did you say he drowned? Jun Yixian asked in a deep voice. Don't even mention it. On Sunday, I was playing on my phone while crossing the street and got hit by a truck with faulty brakes. I flew into a septic tank that was being cleaned regularly and then drowned. This incident made the news, and various short video platforms have covered it, making it difficult to comment on. After all, we were classmates, so I think everyone should go and pay their respects. I'll let you know when the time comes. I'm going to inform the other classmates now. Bye. Goodbye, Jun Yixian replied politely. It was 2:30 p.m. on November 12th, 3035 of the Great Shang Dynasty, which is today. Jun Yixian knew about Zhou Tian's car accident the moment he adapted to the memories of his future trajectory. No wonder he couldn't detect anything unusual about Gu Qinghan, who was so good-looking. Now he understands. Zhou Tian is the chosen one, and Gu Qinghan is the female lead, both influenced by the aura of destiny. No matter what, the female lead's beauty is among the best in the world, even without makeup. As the villain, Jun Yixian naturally has all the advantages over the protagonist. This contrast makes the protagonist's boasting more satisfying. The beautiful female lead ignores the villain's deep affection, but instead admires the protagonist's various qualities. He saves her from danger multiple times and even causes various scandals. But the female lead always understands and tolerates him. But the protagonist is either showing off or on his way to showing off, and he has very little time to spend with the female leads. When they finally meet, there are always various crises. Thinking about this, Jun Yixian began to doubt the reality of this world. System, is the world I'm in the real world? Ding, the world you are in is a real plane, and the plane is currently undergoing an upgrade, which will introduce many bugs and attract some thieves and petty criminals. Jun Yixian nodded. He believed the system's explanation. Having lived in this world for 22 years, Jun Yixian had investigated countless times, both directly and indirectly. How could Jun Yixian not know whether this world was real or not? However, the arrival of the Chosen One and the system made Jun Yixian feel as if he had been transported to another world, and he found it difficult to accept for a while. In the future trajectory provided by the system, Gu Qinghan and Zhou Tian did not end up together. Zhou Tian is a snake. Gu Qinghan was very resistant to Zhou Tian after she found out, and Gu Qinghan's parents also disliked Zhou Tian. Gu Qinghan is a human being, a well-educated person. Why should she be with a demon? She doesn't have any serious illness. Why would she give up being a hero of the human race and sever ties with her parents to become a traitor? Even after the world was destroyed by the infinite devouring evolution system, Gu Qinghan remained the empress of humanity and one of the guardians of humanity. Zhou Tian, that's just something from the past. I'm not familiar with it. What Jun Yixian didn't know was, in the real world, the way of heaven exists, but it cannot directly interfere with native beings, which is why people like Zhou Tian were able to exploit this loophole. After sensing the anomaly in the heavens, the heavenly Tao indirectly strengthened the protection of those with great fortune in the local area, and Gu Qinghan was one of them. Unfortunately, the indirect influence of the heavenly Tao was constrained by its own rules, and it had to focus on the upgrade. Even after the enhancement, the native creatures still failed to kill Zhou Tian. In the end, the snipe and the clam fought, while the fishermen reaped the benefits. The infinite devouring evolution system ultimately won, the world's ascension failed, and the world was destroyed. The Time-Space Patrolman sees the ending of this world, freezes time and space, and generates a mission. On the other side, Gu Qinghan was holding Xiaobai by its vital spot and walking towards the glass tank. Xiaobai is not a thing, but a slender white snake, Gu Qinghan's pet. Looking at the slightly ajar glass, Gu Qinghan parted her teeth and muttered to herself, "Strange, I remember closing the glass when I left. How come it's open?" Gu Qinghan then looked at another glass tank on the side. The tank was tightly closed, and inside was a small, pale, golden snake, very cute, named Kyanqian, a female snake. When Gu Qinghan saw the small snake with its pale gold scales, she liked it very much. After inquiring about the price, she bought it without hesitation. The shopkeeper said that a snake would feel lonely if it had only one snake, and Gu Qinghan believed him, so he also bought a boyfriend for Kyanqian, which was Yuan Xiaobai. Worried that Kyanqian would be bullied, Gu Qinghan would separate the two snakes. "Sissy is so good, staying home and playing obediently." Gu Qinghan smiled charmingly. "Little Bai, you're so disobedient. Tonight half of your mice will be gone." Gu Qinghan punished fiercely. "Gu Qinghan, how does she raise snakes?" Zhou Tian's snake brain was filled with doubt. "No, I'm Gu Qinghan's snake now," Zhou Tian immediately realized. Because he transformed into a snake, Zhou Tian's vision also changed. He could only see thermal images of everything and could not identify any specific individuals. After being reborn, Zhou Tian found himself in a cage. As a human, Zhou Tian would not sit idly by and wait for death, so he chose to escape. As a result, 2.5 hours were wasted. After finally escaping the cage, they hadn't gone far when a humanoid ball of light grabbed them by the throat, their vital spot. Because it was a small and weak snake, Zhou Tian had no power to resist and could only pretend to be stupid. Upon hearing the familiar voice, Zhou Tian realized that the person who had grabbed him was Gu Qinghan. Gu Qinghan's pet is not bad, hee. Zhou Tian thought to himself with a silly grin. Gu Qinghan is the #1 beauty of Keoj University. She is beautiful inside and out, and has never had any scandals. Having the opportunity to share a room with Gu Qinghan is nothing short of a stroke of luck. With the awakening of the infinite devouring evolution system, Zhou Tian was confident that one day it would be able to transform into a human and achieve a happy ending with Gu Qinghan. The love of beauty is universal, and Zhou Tian is no exception. Qinghan, don't worry, I will definitely protect you, Zhou Tian secretly vowed in his heart. Gu Qinghan put Xiaobai, Zhou Tian, into the glass tank, covered the glass, and sternly lectured, Xiaobai, stay in there obediently, do you hear me? After saying that, Gu Qinghan was worried that Xiaobai would escape again, so he picked up a vase from the side and placed it on the glass tank to prevent Xiaobai from escaping again. Strangely enough, looking at the little white snake that had been staring straight at her, Gu Qinghan felt that this snake was a little different, as if it understood human nature. Gu Qinghan shook her head, banishing the immature idea from her mind. It's just a snake. No matter how intelligent it is, it's still a snake, just a beast. It seems he's been really bothered by that young master Jun Yixian lately. His mind's been a bit off, talking to snakes, sigh. Speaking of Jun Yixian, Gu Qinghan had a headache. Her parents worked at the Jun family's company and were high-level executives at a very large branch. Jun Yixian was pursuing her, and she really didn't know how to refuse him. She refused to accept the offer because she was worried that Jun Yixian would make things difficult for her parents. But if she agreed, she wasn't confident she could hold onto Jun Yixian. Do I like him? I think so. He comes from an extraordinary family, is humble and polite, and is handsome. He is excellent in every way and can be said to be the perfect partner. However, the gap between her family and the Jun family is too great. Dating is fine, but when it comes to marriage, Gu Qinghan has no confidence at all. She doesn't know any of those complicated ancient rituals, nor does she know anything about high-end things like appraising treasures and appreciating jade. If she really goes there, she'll be laughed to death. Well, I'll just have to take it one step at a time. If I really can't refuse, I'll just consider it a fulfillment of my youth, Gu Qinghan consoled herself. When she first met someone who made her heart flutter, she was indeed a little overwhelmed. P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 200, Planting the Seeds of Doubt. The next day at 8 a.m., Jun Yixian surprisingly came to class. Qinghan, good morning. Jun Yixian, ever the friendly type, sat down next to Gu Qinghan, who sat to her right. Good morning. Gu Qinghan nodded slightly, responding politely and elegantly. Just then, a cute and playful girl walked over carrying 2 cups of milk tea. Qinghan, Jun Yixian, you too. Gu Qinghan's best friend Liu Shi saw this scene, and immediately a meaningful aunt smile appeared on her face. Her eyes kept looking back and forth between the two of them, as if trying to find some clues from their expressions and actions. We're not what you think. Gu Qinghan noticed Liu Shi's unusual behavior and her heart tightened. She quickly explained in a serious tone, her voice revealing a hint of urgency, afraid that her friend had misunderstood something. She tried to keep her expression calm, attempting to prove to Liu Shi that there was nothing special between them. I understand. You don't want to go public, right? I understand. Liu Shi pouted, a hint of mockery flashing in her eyes. Although she said she understood, her eyes still revealed a look of doubt. Gu Qinghan is the #1 beauty of Keoj University. With her perfect figure and stunning looks, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call her a femme fatale. Even the rich kids from the neighboring university often come to Keoj University for a stroll, and there are countless rich young men confessing their love to Gu Qinghan. However, without exception, all of them were ruthlessly rejected by Gu Qinghan. Over the past 2.5 years, Liu Shi has witnessed everything. Several times she thought that Gu Qinghan was going to be taken advantage of by some rich young master, but in the end, nothing came of it. Therefore, Liu Shi speculated that Gu Qinghan's family background was not simple, or rather, her identity was special, so those rich young men could only pursue her through normal means. Jun Yixian is humble and polite, and handsome, but unfortunately he doesn't come to class often. When asked, he always says he's on leave, so it seems like he doesn't have to worry about attendance issues. Therefore, Liu Shi speculated that Jun Yixian's background was not simple, which was why he could act so recklessly. Now that these two are sitting together, Gu Qinghen has surprisingly acquiesced. What else could this be but a story? A haughty young lady and her domineering fiancé, feuds and grudges between wealthy families, a powerful young master's forced love. Countless romance novels flashed through Liu Shi's mind. Looking at the image that Liu Shi had conjured up in her mind, Gu Qinghen had a terrible headache. She and Zheng Yixian have no relationship at all. Zheng Yixian was her future boss and the powerful heir of the Zheng family, so how could she dare to say anything harsh? Seeing that Liu Shi was still standing still, Zheng Yixian picked up a textbook from the table and gently tapped Liu Shi's head, explaining, "All right, stop imagining things. I haven't won her over yet." "Ah, they're still chasing them." Liu Shi looked at the two of them in shock and disappointment. "Liu Shi, if you don't have anything to do, sit still. Don't be so jumpy. Class is about to start." Gu Qinghen quickly changed the subject. "Okay." Liu Shi sat down directly, one seat away from Zheng Yixian, seemingly wanting to watch the drama unfold. Gu Qinghen glared coldly at Liu Shi, but didn't say anything to kick her out. "Liu Shi is one of us, so it's fine if we bump into each other." Zheng Yixian sat down domineeringly, and such an obvious thing can't be hidden. "Here, milk tea." Seeing Gu Qinghen glaring at her, Liu Shi tactfully offered her milk tea. Of course, Zheng Yixian also got a share, but it was Liu Shi's share because she didn't know that Gu Qinghen would bring someone, so she didn't buy any more. Liu Shi understands the principle of paying money to save one's life, if one sees something one shouldn't. "No need, thank you." Zheng Yixian politely returned Liu Shi's milk tea to her. Gu Qinghen glanced at it, then placed her portion in front of Zheng Yixian. "Try it, it's very delicious." "Thank you." Zheng Yixian was a little surprised, but did not refuse. Liu Shi glared angrily at the two of them. Even after all this, they still said it was okay. Did they think she was stupid? System, view Gu Qinghen's personal panel. Gu Qinghen's personal panel. Name, Gu Qinghen. Gender, female. Affection level, 35. There is some affection, but not much. Combat strength, 3.9. The average value for a normal human male is 5, and the human limit is 10. Faction, none. Height, 173 cm. Charisma, 9.5 for normal people, 10 is the human limit. Chest circumference, hip circumference, waistline, fold. Zheng Yixian knew most of the information that followed, but he didn't check Zheng Yixian's personal details. For example, things like clothing sizes are available in shopping information, but Zheng Yixian has no way of knowing what's white or what sensitive spots are. System, Gu Qinghen has feelings for me? Zheng Yixian was somewhat surprised. Generally speaking, a female protagonist with good fortune is unlikely to have any affection for the villain. In fact, she will always feel disgust towards him. It's quite unexpected that Gu Qinghen now has feelings for Zheng Yixian. Ding, the host has always been cautious and prudent, never committing any heinous acts. Coupled with an excellent family background, education, and character, it's understandable that Gu Qinghen has a good first impression of the host. Isn't there an intelligence-lowering aura? Zheng Yixian continued to ask. Yes, there is, but you are a transmigrator after all, and you have a certain resistance to the intelligence-reducing aura. In addition, the cycle of the Child of Destiny has just begun, so the intelligence reduction is not serious yet. However, host, rest assured, this system has already broken through the intelligence-reducing aura of the Great Shang Kingdom, except for Zhou Tian. Zheng Yixian nodded. It was normal that he had a good impression of the persona he had cultivated over the years, given that he didn't have the aura of being less intelligent. However, this level of favorability is indeed a bit low. Without using some tricks, it would take forever to earn a living. Quiet down, we're about to start taking attendance. A middle-aged professor with a square face said sternly. Zhang Sanfeng, arrive. Liu Bangt, road. Wang Lint, road. Liu Shi, road. Chu Zunner, road. Not long after, the professor finished the random roll call, and as always, Zheng Yixian was not called. He hadn't been called on once in 2.5 years. Then, the professor began to talk about the history of the Shang dynasty. Since it was an open class, not many students listened attentively. Most were just slacking off, including Gu Qinghen. Qinghen, I have some special news to tell you. Gu Qinghen looked at Zheng Yixian with a puzzled expression. What is it? The Zheng family is the leading merchant family, with businesses spanning the globe. Gu Qinghen also became somewhat interested in what Zheng Yixian had to say. Even if she didn't believe it, Gu Qinghen didn't dare to show it too obviously. Qinghen, are you aware of the strange changes occurring in wild plants and animals? Jun Yixian looked at Gu Qinghan seriously. The signs of the spiritual energy revival began quietly 3 days before Zhou Tian's possession, but because the reason was unknown, this news was blocked by all countries. Very few people know about this right now. Even Jun Yixian, according to the original timeline, will only learn about this news tomorrow. Now that the system has arrived, Jun Yixian has learned about the ins and outs of the spiritual energy revival through the original trajectory, as well as some future-level classifications and talent names. Jun Yixian now knows some of these as well. After the spiritual energy revival, humans referred to those who had evolved as evolvers. Based on the difference in combat power among evolvers, they were divided into 7 ranks: F, E, D, C, B, A, S. Each rank was further divided into 5 star levels. Talent levels are also divided into 7 levels: F, E, D, C, B, A, S. Gu Qinghan's talent is Super S level, and in the future he will grow into an existence that surpasses S level. Humans call this realm the Great Emperor, while demons call it the Demon Ancestor. Gu Qinghan shook her head and asked earnestly, "Jun Yixian, is this news reliable?" Jun Yixian nodded. "My family's research institute has confirmed this news. An unknown energy has appeared in the bodies of the mutated creatures, which is manifested by increased size and stronger aggression. I believe this news will be made public in a few days. If you see this creature, stay away from it immediately." "Okay, I understand. I'll be careful." Gu Qinghan nodded earnestly. Gu Qinghan had no doubt about Jun Yixian's words. A family like the Jun family had more ways to obtain information than someone of her social class. Also, when she woke up this morning, she noticed a significant change in Xiaobai. Compared to Zixi, Xiaobai was a little thicker. At the time, Gu Qinghan thought she was seeing things and hadn't noticed when she bought it. Now that she thinks about it, Xiaobai is very likely the mutated creature that Jun Yixian mentioned. However, Gu Qinghan was not entirely certain and needed to observe for a few more days. Chapter 201, Seeking Help from Jun Yixian. After returning home at noon, Gu Qinghan hurriedly went to Xiaobai's glass tank. As expected, Xiaobai had grown up again, its size now twice that of Cayenne Qian. Gu Qinghan stared warily at the little white dog sleeping in the glass tank. After Jun Yixian's words, Gu Qinghan was now terrified of the little white dog. The mutated creature has grown larger and is more aggressive. Its size matches the external changes Jun Yixian described, but Gu Qinghan dares not test its aggressiveness. It is a snake after all. Although it is not venomous, you can still get hurt if you are bitten. What should I do? Gu Qinghan felt anxious. It's grown this big in less than a day. If left to grow for a few days, it might not even fit in this glass tank. To eliminate potential threats in advance, Gu Qinghan worried about being attacked. If she called the police, ordinary law enforcement officers probably wouldn't believe her story. What kind of mutant snake is this? It's just a snake about the thickness of a thumb. I doubt law enforcement would take it seriously. Should I tell Jun Yixian? Gu Qinghan asked herself. Asking Jun Yixian for help would definitely resolve this matter, but Jun Yixian is currently pursuing her. If she asks Jun Yixian for help, she will end up owing him a lot more in the long run. When the time comes, she won't be able to back out. Gu Qinghan was well aware that the Jun family held a very high position, and that Jun Yixian was too dangerous. It was for this reason that Gu Qinghan hesitated about whether to agree to be with Jun Yixian. If her parents hadn't told her about Jun Yixian's identity, Gu Qinghan might not have been so hesitant. But reality doesn't allow for what-ifs. 2.5 years ago, when Gu Qinghan enrolled in school, her father met Jun Yixian and privately told her about Jun Yixian's identity and the power of the Jun family. He also instructed her not to provoke Jun Yixian and never to mention Jun Yixian's true identity to anyone. The Gu family is someone you can't afford to mess with, and someone you can't afford to mess with. Gu Qinghan was intelligent from a young age and immediately understood the implication in her father's words. They were not a good match. She was not worthy of Jun Yixian, and his family could not afford to offend them. Also, because of her father's instructions, Gu Qinghan was secretly observing everything about Jun Yixian, the young master of the Jun family. During this time, Gu Qinghan discovered that Jun Yixian was, how should I put it, perfect, more outstanding than everyone she had ever met. His only flaw was his tendency to skip classes. But this didn't surprise Gu Qinghan at all, who knew Jun Yixian's true identity. He's the boss, so his family will teach him what he needs to learn. Jun Yixian doesn't need to learn the more theoretical stuff that schools teach. Just like her, studying economics was just a diploma she needed. Her parents had already taught her the real skills step by step. After graduation, Gu Qinghan's life plan was to work at her parents' company, so she understood why Jun Yixian didn't attend classes. If she had that background, she would have done the same. After much deliberation, Gu Qinghan decided to seek help from Jun Yixian. The mutation of wild beasts and the discovery of unknown energies. This series of events made Gu Qinghan realize that the world was no longer the same as before. Once the number of mutated creatures reaches a certain level, human society will inevitably suffer a severe impact. Gu Qinghan couldn't even imagine what the world would be like then. Gu Qinghan has witnessed the changes in Zhou Tian, the Chosen One, and has developed fear of him. Zhou Tian's luck value has decreased by 1,000, and the host has gained 10,000 villain points. Oh, so fast, Gu Qinghan is really decisive. As expected, Gu Qinghan should call soon. Jun Yixian smiled faintly. Mutant creatures and unknown things would leave normal people bewildered. Fear and anxiety are natural human emotions. What he said to Gu Qinghan this morning was both a reminder to Gu Qinghan to be careful and an implication that he could handle this kind of thing. Gu Qinghan is very smart. She must have thought of these things. Of course, it's fine if Gu Qinghan is stubborn and doesn't contact him. At worst, he can go to him on his own in a couple of days. Anyway, Zhou Tian will come out and scare him like in the original storyline. If a pet attacks a person, the owner will definitely have to pay compensation. What kind of compensation is possible? If Gu Qinghan were to call Jun Yixian could legitimately kidnap Zhou Tian. Of course, things like sterilization and biopsy would be normal research, right? In any case, Gu Qinghan and Zhou Tian can't escape. Tilde. The familiar ringtone sounded. Jun Yixian looked and, as expected, it was Gu Qinghan calling via video call. 3 seconds later, Jun Yixian tapped to answer the call. In an instant, the screen image changed, and a stunningly beautiful face slowly appeared before Jun Yixian. Jun Yixian, do you have time? Gu Qinghan asked anxiously from the other end. You have time? What's wrong, Qinghan? What happened? Jun Yixian looked at Gu Qinghan with a puzzled expression. Jun Yixian knew what Gu Qinghan wanted to ask, but pretended not to know anything. Didn't you say you discovered a strange change in the wild animals? I bought 2 small snakes about 2 weeks ago, and one of them is noticeably larger than the other. It was fine yesterday, but when I came back today, I found it had grown significantly. Neither snake showed any signs of molting. I suspect Xiaobai is a mutant, so I wanted to ask you to help me deal with it. Gu Qinghan's voice was somewhat urgent, and it was clear she was frightened. Qinghan, don't worry, share your location with me. I'll be right there, Jun Yixian quickly reassured her. Okay. Gu Qinghan quickly split the screen and shared her location with Jun Yixian. Faced with this situation, Gu Qinghan did not hesitate and directly told Jun Yixian her address. Okay, I'll be right there. We'll talk about the mutants when I get there. Gu Qinghan nodded. Jun Yixian hung up the phone and then called bodyguard Captain Afu, asking him to arrange a laboratory. Afterwards, Jun Yixian went to the garage, casually drove a supercar, and safely set off towards Gu Qinghan's location. No sooner had Jun Yixian left than Uncle Fu came downstairs, puzzled, and asked, "Where is the young master?" "Young master has driven off," the maid replied respectfully. Uncle Fu nodded. "Yes, I understand. You may go now." "Maid, aren't you going to mop the floor?" Uncle Fu immediately realized he had said something wrong and quickly corrected himself. "Wipe carefully." After saying that, Uncle Fu left in a serious manner. A short while later, Jun Yixian's luxury supercar came to a smooth stop in front of the villa where Gu Qinghan was. As soon as Jun Yixian got out of the car, he saw Gu Qinghan standing at the door waiting for him. Upon seeing Jun Yixian, Gu Qinghan's eyes lit up with surprise. "Jun Yixian, you've come." She hadn't expected Jun Yixian to arrive so quickly. As the young master of the Jun family, she came immediately after just one phone call. It was impossible not to be moved. "How about it, Qinghan? I arrived just in time, didn't I?" Gu Qinghan smiled gently and said with concern, "Please be more careful on the road in the future." "Oh, there's more to it than that. It seems our Qinghan has truly fallen in love." Jun Yixian chuckled softly. Gu Qinghan seemed a little embarrassed and quickly turned her face away, stubbornly saying, "No, don't think nonsense." Seeing Gu Qinghan's adorable, deliberately stubborn expression, Jun Yixian shook his head and stopped teasing her. He slowly stepped forward and said with a smile, "Take me inside to see that mutant first." Gu Qinghan looked up at Jun Yixian's dazzling eyes that seemed to contain endless stars, and felt inexplicably at peace. She softly replied, P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 202, Zhou Tian witnessed it firsthand. Jun Yixian, Xiaobai is in that glass tank on the right. Gu Qinghan pointed to the glass tank on the far right of the windowsill, somewhat worried. Following Gu Qinghan's direction, Jun Yixian looked and saw a transparent glass tank on the right side of the window, but it was empty. As expected, Zhou Tian ran away again. After the introduction, Gu Qinghan looked at the glass tank where Xiaobai was kept. Seeing that the glass tank was empty, Gu Qinghan's smile froze instantly. Little White has disappeared. There is a noticeable notch on the top cover of the glass tank. This, Gu Qinghan was so shocked that she couldn't speak, and just stared blankly at the broken glass tank. The gaping hole was starkly displayed before them, making it impossible for Gu Qinghan to ignore the shock it brought. Gu Qinghan frowned slightly, a sense of unease rising in his heart. Ordinary pet snakes could not possibly possess such power. Xiaobai was indeed a mutant. Jun Yixian quickly warned, Qinghan, be careful, the snake might be hiding somewhere in the room. Gu Qinghan nodded, subconsciously biting her lips slightly, her voice trembling slightly. Jun Yixian, I think we should go out first. Xiaobai is a mutant now, it's too dangerous. Her body trembled slightly involuntarily, clearly terrified by the terrifying power displayed by the mutant. Jun Yixian nodded and said in a deep voice, All right, let's go out first. We'll leave Xiaobai's matter to the professionals. After saying that, Jun Yixian led Gu Qinghan slowly toward the door. Just as I reached the room door, suddenly, hiss! A white shadow with a gaping, blood-red maw suddenly plummeted down. Jun Yixian, how dare you harass Qinghan? I'll scare you to death. Zhou Tian laughed inwardly. It had heard every single word of Gu Qinghan's video conversation with Jun Yixian. Calling it a mutant is truly malicious. Using such a lame lie to scare Qinghan, and then pretending to be a hero to save the damsel in distress. They were both men, so how could it not understand Jun Yixian's little thoughts? They act all respectable in public, but in private they're all scoundrels. Zhou Tian must make Gu Qinghan see Jun Yixian's true colors today. It wanted to see if Jun Yixian was afraid of the mutant he had created. However, while imagination is beautiful, reality is very cruel. Jun Yixian shouted danger, and pulled Gu Qinghan into his arms with his left hand, while precisely grabbing Zhou Tian's 7-inch mark with his right. Before Gu Qinghan could react to what was happening, she felt a large, restless hand moving around her waist. Qinghan, are you all right? Jun Yixian looked at the person in his arms with concern. Hiss, hiss, Zhou Tian hissed in pain. Hearing the familiar hissing sound, Gu Qinghan realized that Jun Yixian had smeared her with oil, and to make matters worse, she had to thank him. How infuriating. They reacted so quickly, they could have just caught the snake directly. Why did they have to catch her along with it? Seriously. And nothing, Gu Qinghan said angrily. Just as I suspected, Jun Yixian is very dangerous. Let her go, let her go, Zhou Tian screamed inwardly, powerless. Seeing his woman being embraced by another man filled Zhou Tian with rage. Moreover, this opportunity was created for Jun Yixian. It's truly a case of shooting oneself in the foot. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, failed in his attempt to show off, instead giving the host an opportunity. Zhou Tian is furious. His luck value is reduced by 1,000, and the host gains 10,000 villain points. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, has witnessed his host's restless hands moving on Gu Qinghan's soft waist. Zhou Tian is furious and wants to kill his host, but cannot. Zhou Tian's luck value has been reduced by 1,000, and the host has gained 10,000 villain points. Beep, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, has had his fate gripped by the throat, his 7-inch mark, by the host. Zhou Tian is in excruciating pain and filled with rage. Zhou Tian's luck value has been reduced by 2,000, and the host has gained 20,000 villain points. Ding, the host bullied Zhou Tian's beloved goddess in front of the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian. Zhou Tian is suffering from extreme mental anguish and immense self-reproach. Zhou Tian's luck value has been reduced by 3,000, and the host has gained 30,000 villain points. Ding, the host has altered the future trajectory, interrupting the chosen one's first opportunity to show off and gain favor, turning Zhou Tian into a clown spectator. Zhou Tian's luck value has been reduced by 5,000, and the host has gained 50,000 villain points. Does it feel good? Gu Qinghan stared coldly at Jun Yixian. Jun Yixian gave a sly smile. Not bad. Let go. Gu Qinghan glared angrily at Jun Yixian, who was a head taller than her. Jun Yixian slowly released his hand from Gu Qinghan's soft body and chuckled. Qinghan, I just saved you, so how about a little something in return? Jun Yixian smiled at Gu Qinghan, a gesture that Zhou Tian saw as a blatant threat. Gu Qinghan turned her face away, deliberately avoiding looking at Jun Yixian's smug expression. Qinghan, don't agree to him, don't agree to him. Zhou Tian cried out in his heart, his voice filled with unbearable grief. Watching its goddess being bullied by a spoiled brat, it felt hatred, pain, and helplessness. However, Zhou Tian's barking had no effect. He could only stare at Jun Yixian's incredibly handsome profile with bloodshot eyes. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, has been provoked by the host, causing him immense pain and helplessness. Zhou Tian's destiny value has been reduced by 1,000, while the host has gained 10,000 villain points. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, has been provoked by the host and is heartbroken. Zhou Tian's destiny value has decreased by 1,000, and the host has gained 10,000 villain points. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, has been provoked by the host, suffering immense physical and mental torment, his heart shattered. Zhou Tian's destiny value has decreased by 3,000, while the host has gained 30,000 villain points. In just a few minutes, Jun Yixian gained 170,000 villain points, which, combined with the 10,000 he gained in the morning, brought his total to 180,000. System, why did I get so many luck points this Sunday? Jun Yixian asked in confusion. Logically speaking, Zhou Tian has just been reborn after possessing another body. Even if he has a crush on Gu Qinghan, he shouldn't have gained so many villain points. But in fact, Zhou Tian is very generous. In just a few minutes, he gave Jun Yixian more than 100,000 villain points. Beep, host, you wouldn't understand the world of a seasoned simp. A seasoned simp, Jun Yixian murmured to himself. The seasoned simp Jun Yixian truly doesn't understand. Whether in his past life or this one, Jun Yixian has never been a simp, and he knows nothing about the inner thoughts of a simp. He doesn't understand. System, view Zhou Tian's personal panel. Ding, Zhou Tian's personal panel. Name, Zhou Tian. Gender, male. Cheat system, infinite devouring evolution system. Age, 22. Constitution, ordinary. Combat strength, 0.3. After all, it's a small snake, and its strength is pitifully small compared to a human. Realm, none. Faction, none. Luck value, 2,482,000. Originally 2,500,000. Fortune level, pale gold. Current location, Villa number 77, Villa District, Kaoj, Great Shang Kingdom. Ifold, 2.5 million luck points. Jun Yixian sighed inwardly. Chapter 203, favorability didn't increase at all. Knock, knock, knock. A crisp knocking sound came from the door. I'll go check. Hearing the knock on the door, Gu Qinghan seemed to have found an excuse and ran out of the room as if escaping. Jun Yixian looked at the Zhou Tian in his hand, and with a slap, 2 large pockets appeared. Ding, the host suddenly delivered 2 huge blows to Zhou Tian, the chosen one of destiny, leaving him stunned. Zhou Tian felt extremely insulted. Zhou Tian's luck value decreased by 1,000, and the host gained 10,000 villain points. Upon hearing the notification that the villain's points had been credited to his account, Jun Yixian's eyes lit up. He then rewarded Zhou Tian with several large coins, and the host even put Zhou Tian into the fish tank to drink a few mouthfuls of water. After all that, Jun Yixian earned another 50,000 villain points, and was in a good mood. Hello, may I ask who you are? Gu Qinghan politely asked a Fu and the others who had asked the question. Miss Gu, we are people arranged by young Master Jun to help you deal with the mutants. A Fu, dressed in a black protective suit, explained his purpose to Gu Qinghan with a serious expression. Gu Qinghan turned slightly to the side, revealing an elegant smile. Thank you all for your help. No trouble at all, Miss Gu. Please show us the mutants first, a Fu said earnestly. No need, I've already caught the snake. At this moment, Jun Yixian, who had finished lecturing Zhou Tian, slowly walked out. Upon seeing Jun Yixian, a Fu and the others quickly stepped forward and bowed, Young Master. Jun Yixian nodded, carefully placed Zhou Tian into the special glass cage, and instructed, This snake is highly mutated. Be careful on the way back. Take it back and study it carefully to see if you can find the cause of the mutation. A Fu replied respectfully, Young Master, rest assured, we will definitely bring this mutated snake back safely and study its mysteries carefully. His eyes gleamed with determination, as if he had accepted an extremely important mission. Several subordinates nearby echoed, Young Master, rest assured, we will do our utmost and live up to your expectations. Their expressions were solemn, filled with a sense of mission for this task. Jun Yixian nodded slightly. a hint of satisfaction appearing on his cold face. He knew his subordinates' abilities well and believed they would be able to complete this arduous mission. He then reiterated, "We must ensure the snake's safety without any mishaps. This is crucial for us to understand the anomaly." Afu and the others responded in unison. "Don't worry, young master. We will definitely bring the snake safely to the base." After saying that, the group left with the special glass cage containing the mutated snake. Gu Qinghan watched quietly from the doorway the whole time. Knowing Jun Yixian's background, she wasn't too surprised by these things. After Afu and the others left, Jun Yixian revealed a wicked smile. "Qinghan, you know the situation now, right?" Gu Qinghan nodded slightly. "This world is undergoing an unprecedented change. Be my girlfriend and I'll protect you. How about it?" Jun Yixian looked at Gu Qinghan with an air of absolute certainty. As a villain, Jun Yixian has no interest in pursuing things seriously. If he wants something, he'll just take it directly. "Okay," Gu Qinghan agreed without hesitation, without any delay. Gu Qinghan is a smart person. With the world undergoing changes, human society will also change drastically. At that time, people like her will be like duckweed in the rain, unable to protect themselves. As the heir of the Jun family, Jun Yixian comes from a powerful family and meets Gu Qinghan's aesthetic standards in many ways. Gu Qinghan has some feelings for Jun Yixian, and faced with Jun Yixian's half-threatening tone, Gu Qinghan finally made up her mind. She wasn't sure how Jun Yixian viewed her, but one thing was certain. Following Jun Yixian meant she was at least safe. Jun Yixian is a dangerous person, but also very interesting. Following him might lead to a different life. Ding, the host has intercepted the heroine Gu Qinghan, who is destined for greatness and has obtained Shuan rank high-grade cultivation technique, Raging Waves technique, ×1. Yellow rank low-grade spiritual skill, Spirit Body Seal X1. 5th level of Qi refining cultivation. Chen Zhou gave Jun Yixian a token amount as encouragement. Ding, the host has intercepted the destined heroine, Gu Qinghan, directly causing Gu Qinghan to break with the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian. Zhou Tian's destiny value has plummeted by 100,000, and the host has gained 1 million villain points. System, view your personal panel. Host panel. Name, Jun Yixian. Gender, male. Age, 21. Height, 188 cm. Special talent, staring immortal eyes not yet developed. Realm, Qi refining level 5. Power, Jun family. Identity, sole heir of the Jun family. Charisma, 9.5. 5 for a normal person, 10 is the human limit. Cultivation technique, not yet practiced. Spells and spiritual techniques, not yet mastered. Supernatural powers, not yet mastered. Items, Raging Waves technique, and spiritual seal. Ifold. Qi refining level 5, the orthodox cultivation system. Jun Yixian thought to himself with delight. While others pursue martial arts, he cultivates immortality. When the time comes to fight, Jun Yixian doesn't even dare to imagine how strong he will become. "Yixian, Yixian." Gu Qinghan waved her jade hand in front of Jun Yixian's eyes. Hearing Gu Qinghan's call, Jun Yixian snapped out of her thoughts and said, "Oh, it's nothing, let's go inside." After saying that, Jun Yixian walked in on his own as if he were going home. He planned to stay there tonight. "After watching for 2.5 years, I have to have some fun tonight." Gu Qinghan secretly rolled her eyes at Jun Yixian, gently closed the door, and followed him inside. "Yixian, what would you like for dinner?" Gu Qinghan asked softly, opening a food delivery app. "Same as you, I don't have any dietary restrictions, but please avoid strongly flavored foods," Jun Yixian replied. "Okay." Gu Qinghan understood perfectly what Jun Yixian meant. Today is destined to be a special day. Gu Qinghan didn't object. She had already made up her mind when she called Jun Yixian at noon. Dealing with Xiaobai was merely a stepping stone. Gu Qinghan's real purpose was to secure Jun Yixian's, or rather, the Jun family's protection. The world is undergoing dramatic changes, and no one can remain unaffected. Gu Qinghan has entered the fray herself, and she is bound to outmaneuver Jun Yixian. System, check Gu Qinghan's favorability rating. Gu Qinghan's favorability rating. 35, she has some affection, but not much. Still no change. Jun Yixian frowned slightly. So all the efforts I made today were for nothing. Gu Qinghan's favorability rating didn't increase at all. This Gu Qinghan is no ordinary person. No wonder the original trajectory didn't end up with Zhou Tian. He's just naturally heartless. Interesting, he's becoming more and more interested in Gu Qinghan. Host, you've played around like this, and your favorability rating hasn't dropped. Be content. Chen Zhou suddenly made a sarcastic remark. Jun Yixian knew Gu Qinghan very well, and Gu Qinghan also knew what kind of person Jun Yixian was. Both of them were scheming against each other, and in a sense, they were a match made in heaven. Jun Yixian admires Gu Qinghan's beauty and future potential, while Gu Qinghan admires Jun Yixian's handsomeness and extraordinary background. Both are gambling on the other's morality. Jun Yixian knew Gu Qinghan's character well, and Gu Qinghan believed in the Jun family's traditions. Both of them were confident in their ability to control each other. P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 204. What kind of knife do you need to sterilize a snake? Bring me a toothpick. In a spacious and brightly lit room, 9 mysterious figures dressed in black and fully armed stood in a circle, exuding a chilling aura. In the center of this circle of people was a huge solid wood table, on which sat a uniquely shaped and eye-catching capture box. This trap box is no ordinary object. It is made of the latest special glass metal, which is completely transparent and far harder than ordinary steel. You can see inside from the outside, but you can never see outside from the inside. Inside the trap box, a white snake as thick as a thumb struggled wildly, but its attempts to push, bite, or ram the box failed to budge it an inch. Standing at the center of the crowd, Afu, with a cold and serious expression, asked, "Are all the tools ready?" His deep and powerful voice echoed in the quiet room, sending chills down everyone's spine. "Brother Tiger, everything is ready," a bodyguard in black replied sternly. "These people are Jun Yixian's bodyguards. Afu is the head of the bodyguard team and has a nickname in the martial arts world, Black Tiger." Afu nodded and, under everyone's gaze, pressed the switch on the capture box. With a beep, the lid of the capture box slowly opened, and a group of people stared intently at the mutant inside. Zhou Tian reacted quickly. The moment the lid was opened, the furious Zhou Tian immediately launched himself forward. As soon as he poked his head out, he saw a group of burly, vigorous men staring at him menacingly. "Hi," Zhou Tian greeted awkwardly. Just one day after his rebirth, Zhou Tian ate a small mouse and stole 2 small fish fry. Facing a group of tall, mighty, and burly men, the short Zhou Tian had no chance of fighting back. It's fair to say that Zhou Tian is now unable to defeat even small animals. Afu struck with a powerful strike, seizing the very throat of Zhou Tian's destiny, his 7-inch mark. Zhou Tian struggled angrily, but the pain in his heart made him powerless. "Damn it," Zhou Tian cursed inwardly. First it was Gu Qinghan, then Jun Yixian, and now this tiger brother. They're all targeting its weaknesses. Do they really think it's made of clay? Gu Qinghan was one thing, after all, she was a great beauty, and her hands were soft and warm, so I just grabbed her. Jun Yixian and his 2 rough men dared to squeeze its heart. They are absolutely unforgivable. Zhou Tian vowed, once it grows up, it will definitely devour both of these guys. Afu skillfully held the white snake Zhou Tian firmly in place, ensuring it could not break free. Immediately afterwards, Afu slowly extended his strong right hand. Upon seeing this, his trusted aide immediately understood and stepped forward, respectfully handing him a sharp fruit knife. Upon seeing the fruit knife in his hand, Afu's face instantly darkened. He glared at it and roared angrily, "A knife? You bunch of idiots, what do you need a knife for sterilizing a snake? Bring me toothpicks." Upon hearing this, the subordinate holding the fruit knife froze, looking completely bewildered. I was thinking to myself, how can you sterilize someone with a toothpick? Another henchman quickly realized what was happening and hurriedly explained, "Brother Tiger, I'm sorry, we didn't prepare any toothpicks." Afu frowned, waved his hand impatiently, and said in a deep voice, "Then what are you standing there for? Go and buy it." Upon receiving the order, one of the henchmen rushed out as if granted a pardon and disappeared through the doorway. Upon hearing that this group of people wanted to sterilize him, Zhou Tian turned pale with fright, his tongue covered in sweat. Jun Yixian is a devil, isn't he? He sterilizes snakes. Without any suitable tools, Afu didn't sit idle at all. With sharp eyes and nimble movements, he grabbed Zhou Tian's snake head tightly. Afu's hands, like iron clamps, firmly pressed down on the jaw joints on both sides of the snake's head, preventing the white snake Zhou Tian from breaking free. Then he shouted, "Quick, get the clamps." Before the words were even finished, the younger brother sitting across the table hurriedly got to work, quickly found the small pair of pliers in the toolbox, and swiftly handed it to Afu. Afu took the pliers and looked intently at Zhou Tian's 2 little sharp teeth. "No, no." Zhou Tian struggled desperately, his eyes filled with terror, even instinctively coiling his snake body around Afu's strong iron arm. Others who escaped Afu's persecution. However, Zhou Tian's resistance was as ridiculous as Zhou Tian himself. To A Fu and the others, Zhou Tian's shouts were just the hissing of animals, completely unworthy of respect. No, with a pitiful wail from Zhou Tian, two short, weak, sharp teeth appeared in the trash can. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian has tragically lost his only offensive organ, a short, not-so-sharp tooth. This has severely impacted Zhou Tian's early development. Zhou Tian's emotional state has soared, filled with immense grief. His destiny value has plummeted by 50,000, and the host has gained 500,000 villain points. A sudden system announcement startled Zhun Yixian so much that he almost stopped outputting his output. 500,000, that's a huge sum of money. Thank you, Zhou Tian. Zhun Yixian was in high spirits. He casually slapped Gu Qinghan in front of him, causing Gu Qinghan to turn around and glare at Zhun Yixian with displeasure. The battle continues. Tiger, I've bought the toothpicks. The underling ran in, breathing steadily. A Fu nodded and slowly shook a toothpick out of the tube. Upon seeing this, Zhou Tian, who had been pretending to be dead, immediately perked up, twisted his snake body, and used all his strength to slowly escape in the opposite direction from A Fu. The next second, Zhou Tian was pinned down by two other burly men. Without teeth, even with his frantic biting, Zhou Tian couldn't budge the protective suits on the bodyguards. A Fu opened his phone and repeatedly watched a video introducing the location of the snake's penis. No, don't come any closer, Zhou Tian shouted in terror. Unfortunately, humans cannot understand snake language and have no idea what Zhou Tian was saying to the dog. In the bodyguard's eyes, it was nothing more than a beast's helpless struggle, completely lacking in deterrence and even somewhat laughable. However, they are all specially trained Special Forces soldiers, and they will not laugh unless they really can't help it. A Fu watched it 3 times, then put down his phone and started stabbing wildly at Zhou Tian. After several mistakes, he finally succeeded in completing the arduous task assigned by the young master. Neutering snakes was a rather absurd task, but as Zhun Yixian's most loyal subordinate, A Fu still completed the task perfectly. Zhou Tian stared at the ceiling, his mind reeling. After being reborn as a snake, it regretted it. It was just an ordinary person, usually afraid of this and that, and always swallowing its pride. It had never seen anything like this before. Reborn as a snake and bound to a system, I thought my glorious days were about to begin. But before even a day had passed, I was treated like this. He'd rather die in a cesspool than go through that. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, has tragically lost his second brother. His mind is shattered, his heart is filled with unbearable grief, and he has suffered a mental breakdown, shedding 2 sorrowful tears. Zhou Tian's luck value has plummeted by 200,000, while the host has gained 200,000 villain points. The system announcement sounded again, but having learned from the previous experience, Zhun Yixian was not intimidated this time. Brother Tiger, this snake is actually crying, a bodyguard exclaimed. Of course, you'd cry if you had a tooth pulled without anesthesia, another bodyguard retorted. But aren't snakes cold-blooded animals? The bodyguard who had asked the question continued. Cold-blooded animals aren't immune to pain. Even a cockroach would cry from repeated pain, A Fu explained earnestly. I see, I understand now. The bodyguard who asked the question nodded, seemingly understanding. He wouldn't care about a beast, he was just a little curious. Ah Hu casually tossed Zhou Tian into a large glass bottle filled with a clear liquid, closed the lid, glanced at the time, and said, All right, pack up your things, mission accomplished, we should go home. Brother Tiger, aren't we going to deal with this mutant? One of the bodyguards asked. A Fu glanced at the glass bottle and said confidently, No need, there's industrial alcohol in the bottle. This snake won't last more than a few days. Let's go. Tiger spoke up, and the other bodyguards didn't say anything more. The snake's fangs had been pulled out, its body had been pierced with so many holes by toothpicks, and it had been put into industrial alcohol. It was no wonder that the snake could not survive. Time to go home, time to go home. Chapter 205, Sending Zhou Tian Off. 3 days later, Zhun Yixian and Gu Qinghan arrived at the meeting point together after scouting the location. 4 days ago, class monitor Li Yuer set a time for a collective memorial for Sunday, which is today, Sunday, when everyone has time. Seeing Gu Qinghan get out of Zhun Yixian's car, Liu Shi angrily ran up to him and interrogated him. You, Gu Qinghan, actually lied to me and said you weren't with school heartthrob Zhun. How do you explain this now? Liu Shi scrutinized Gu Qinghan, her eyes darting up and down with a gossipy gaze, as if searching for some leverage she wanted. Shi, would you believe me if I said I wasn't lying? Gu Qinghen looked at Liu Shi with a serious expression. You were won over by school heartthrob Jun in the last 3 days. Upon hearing Gu Qinghen's words, Liu Shi immediately became excited. The domineering school heartthrob's forced love. My cunning school heartthrob. My untold love-hate entanglement with the school heartthrob. After being reborn, I chose the rich second-generation heir. Several sensational novel titles instantly flashed through Liu Shi's mind, as if wealth and fame were beckoning her. Thinking of the immense wealth and fame, Liu Shi slowly approached Gu Qinghen, who hurriedly took a few steps back. Shi, what are you doing? Liu Shi's eyes were filled with excitement. She lowered her voice and said in a tone that only the two of them could hear, Qinghen, tell me in detail. Get out, Gu Qinghen glared angrily at Liu Shi. Qinghen, don't be in such a hurry. Tell me what happened between you two these past few days. You even took 2 days off. Tell me, what happened between you two? Liu Shi rubbed her hands excitedly, her face full of coercion. Liu Shi, you should die. Gu Qinghen clenched her fist in anger. However, due to his leg injury, Gu Qinghen couldn't even touch Liu Shi's clothes this time. Liu Shi, however, was like a nimble little rabbit, easily dodging every attack from Gu Qinghen and occasionally turning around to make a face, deliberately trying to annoy Gu Qinghen. Just then, a figure walked over as lightly as a spring breeze. It was Jun Yixian. With a smile on his face and in a gentle tone, he said, All right, you two, stop fooling around. The other students are waiting for us. Gu Qinghen was furious and wouldn't listen to any advice. Gu Qinghen turned her head and glared fiercely at Jun Yixian, cursing inwardly, It's all because of you. Although she didn't say it aloud, her angry and dissatisfied eyes said it all. Feeling Gu Qinghen's gaze, Jun Yixian couldn't help but smile awkwardly, but didn't say anything more. Just then, squad leader Li Yuer walked towards them with a smile. She glanced at Gu Qinghen and Jun Yixian and said softly, Gu Qinghen, Jun Yixian, it's getting late. Let's not delay any longer and set off quickly. Jun Yixian nodded, glanced at Gu Qinghen and said, Li Yuer, Qinghen hasn't been feeling well these past few days. Why don't you tell me the address of the funeral home where Zhou Tian is staying, and we can drive there? Li Yuer gave the two of them a strange look, then smiled gently. Okay, I'll send you the address. Gu Qinghen took the past 2 days off. It's obvious what he did for a second. Oh, and remember not to be late. Li Yuer thought for a moment and then emphasized again. Little Yuer, don't worry, I'll go with Qinghen and the others. Liu Shi said excitedly, taking it upon herself to make the decision. Li Yuer nodded. Okay, be careful on the road. Apart from Zhou Tian, the other students in the class all come from wealthy families, and some even have cars provided by their families, so some students chose to drive there. After sending the address to Jun Yixian, Li Yuer went to organize the remaining students to board the bus. Although most of the students in the class came from families with certain assets, there were still more than 30 students whose families did not provide them with cars, so these students rented a bus together. Knowing the location, Jun Yixian and the other two returned to the car. To make things easier, Jun Yixian didn't drive his 2-seater supercar, which is why Liu Shi was able to hitch a ride with him. Throughout the journey, Liu Shi, sitting in the back seat, was quite annoyed. Gu Qinghen was in the front passenger seat, and Liu Shi had no chance to speak to him because Gu Qinghen completely ignored her. Half an hour later, Jun Yixian and his friends arrived at the funeral home. The students gathered in small groups to talk about the topic of spiritual energy revival. Jun Yixian and his group weren't the last, so they waited a while before the others started to wait. Led by squad leader Li Yuer, the 53 people marched through several side roads and arrived at the morgue. There was an old man with a hunched back in front of the door. He was Zhou Tian's grandfather, but not by blood. He had worked hard to support Zhou Tian through college, but unexpectedly he was the one who outlived his son. Next to the old man sat a haggard-looking girl who appeared to be about 18 or 19 years old. Unsurprisingly, she was Zhou Tian's younger sister. Grandpa Zhou, we are Zhou Tian's classmates, and we've come to visit him. Li Yuer politely stepped forward to greet him. Tianer's classmates. Looking at these energetic young children, Grandpa Zhou's eyes filled with tears. Sister Li, hello everyone, I'm Zhou Mo, Zhou Tian's younger sister. Let me take you inside to see your brother, Zhou Mo said sensibly. Okay, Li Yuer nodded. As evening approached, after watching Sunday's show, everyone said goodbye to the grandfather and granddaughter and left. System, check the villain stats. Host's villain value, 3,900,000. Because Zhou Tian is still soaking in alcohol, some villain points have been sporadically released in the past 2 days. All in all, Jun Yixian's total villain points have reached a height of 3.9 million. System, how do I exchange cultivation points in the system shop? Ding, system shop activation requires villain points. Please activate system shop first. Activation fee, 100,000 villain points. 100,000. System, that's a bit unfair of you, isn't it? Jun Yixian chirped. Ding, host, this is the price for activating the system store. This system has always been fair and honest. Host, would you like to activate it? System, I heard that the system mall is free, so why do you charge money here? Jun Yixian said angrily. Host, would you like to activate this? System, I am a transmigrator. Can you please give me some face? Beep, this is a friend's price. Jun Yixian was speechless. So a friendly price means a friendly increase, huh? Just like Chen Zhou, they're both scumbags, even worse than Chen Zhou. However, in order to take a shortcut and be lazy, Jun Yixian gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, Activate. Ding, 100,000 villain points deducted from the host. The system shop has been activated. The host can purchase any item they can afford. All items are priced as per the system's in-game store. There are no discounts or promotions. Jun Yixian ignored this nonsense and began browsing the prices related to cultivation in the system's marketplace. Peak Chi Refining, 300,000 villain points. Peak Foundation Establishment Stage, 500,000 villain points. Peak Golden Core Stage, 900,000 villain points. Peak Nascent Soul Stage, 3 million villain values. Peak Nascent Soul Stage, 8 million villain points. Peak of the Returning to Void Stage, 20 million villain values. P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 206, Zhou Tian escaped. System, exchange this for Peak Nascent Soul Stage cultivation. Beep, breaking through to the Golden Core Stage or higher requires undergoing a tribulation. Host, please confirm whether to redeem. Jun Yixian's eyes widened in astonishment. What? I have to undergo tribulation again. Ding, the tribulation lightning required to break through a major realm can be stacked exponentially. Host, would you like to exchange for it? Jun Yixian was completely dumbfounded. The lightning tribulation could be stacked and doubled. Wasn't this going to kill him? Thinking of the terrifying power of the lightning tribulation described in the novel, and the life or death crisis he might face, Jun Yixian couldn't help but feel a chill of fear. After all, transcending tribulation is no easy task. A slight misstep could lead to annihilation. Moreover, he was just a novice in an ordinary world who hadn't even started cultivating any techniques. Asking him to be struck by lightning was really asking too much of him. Does the host wish to redeem? Chen Zhou ate sunflower seeds while looking at Jun Yixian, who was completely taken aback. Using villain points to level up does indeed allow you to skip the tribulation and directly skip lower realms, saving villain points. In order to maximize profits, Chen Zhou deliberately held back a trick, making the host undergo a tribulation of lightning, using the tribulation to intimidate the host, thus forcing the host to purchase at each level and increase the share. Chen Zhou treats every host this way, emphasizing fairness and impartiality. Even if Jun Yixian was a transmigrator, he couldn't see through the trickery. If there were a stubborn host, then the tribulation lightning would be a substantial enhancement. Heh tilde. System, exchange this for me at the peak of Foundation Establishment first. Jun Yixian took a deep breath and finally chose to bow his head. Let's wait until he's fully prepared before discussing the tribulation of lightning. There was a novel protagonist who successfully fooled someone with a lightning rod, and as a time traveler, Jun Yixian naturally hadn't forgotten that. Ding, 500,000 villain points deducted from the host. Congratulations, host, you have achieved peak Foundation Establishment cultivation. As soon as he finished speaking, Jun Yixian felt his whole body filled with power. His whole body was transparent, and he could turn his previous self into a bloody mist with a single punch. Scrub, 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 scrub. After a brief adjustment, Jun Yixian quickly rinsed himself with the shower head. He understood the saying, poop in your pores. To avoid making a fool of himself, Jun Yixian went to the bathroom to exchange his cultivation level. As he predicted, the outcome was exactly as he expected. His body underwent a complete transformation, and even his pores began to defecate. However, since it was his first time cultivating immortality and he had no experience, Jun Yixian still managed to break several floorboards, and the shower head in his hand broke in two. Jun Yixian could only take a shower with the broken showerhead hose. Ding, ordinary host. The system recommends you redeem a Super Invincible Supreme Gift Pack for Practical Combat. The Practical Combat Package Does it include various combat techniques and combat experience? Jun Yixian asked cautiously. That's natural, host. Please see the gift pack details. Super Invincible Supreme Combat Gift Pack. 350,000 villain points. A super combat gift pack accumulated from countless cultivation worlds, countless years, and countless geniuses, including advanced level danger perception, advanced level power control, advanced level force control techniques, advanced level combat instinct, advanced level combat experience, advanced level combat skills, advanced level combat awareness. Upon seeing the price, Jun Yixian was so shocked that he immediately cursed, 350,000. You might as well rob me. Host, the mastery of power and techniques at the great perfection level will allow you to fight for much longer. So the price is naturally a bit higher, you know. Oh, I remember now, it's a friend's price, right? I'll buy it. Jun Yixian reacted instantly. He had read a novel before where a guy named Zhao Zilong bought this, which caused the price of this item to rise. The word spread quickly, and he never expected it to rise to this level so fast. The older generation cuts down trees, and the younger generation suffers the loss. This system world is also keeping up with the times. Ding, 350,000 villain points deducted from the host. Congratulations, host, you have received the ultimate combat gift pack. As the villain value was deducted, Jun Yixian's body gained a lot of muscle memory, and his brain gained a massive amount of memories and experience about actual combat. It can be said that, in terms of practical combat experience, there is no one on the entire planet Earth who can compare with Jun Yixian. Ding, host, the system also has a function that can monitor the protagonist's location in real time. A real-time holographic map. Jun Yixian suddenly remembered something that had appeared in a novel he had read before. Could it be that this system is from that scumbag Chen Zhou? A bold idea immediately popped into Jun Yixian's mind. Seeing what Jun Yixian was thinking, Chen Zhou took out a small piece of a knockoff version of the intelligence-lowering halo that he had modified in his spare time and quietly placed it on Jun Yixian's head. No, how could that be? What a coincidence. I just died and then I ran into Chen Zhou. It's too much of a coincidence. Jun Yixian shook his head, dismissing his somewhat immature but bold guess. The ever-present all-seeing eye. With 50,000 villain points, it can freely monitor the real-time location of the Chosen One, piercing through all the fog and revealing the entire world before you. The ever-present heavenly eye, just as I thought, another system, Jun Yixian thought to himself. Although they are all called the Destiny Villain System, there are too many systems with this name in the novel world. It is normal for systems to have the same name in the myriad worlds. System exchange for the all-seeing eye, Junya said without hesitation. As long as Zhou Tian lives, Jun Yixian will never have a moment's peace. Exchanging for the ever eye is a very worthwhile investment. Ding, 50,000 villain points deducted from the host. Congratulations on obtaining the ever-ubiquitous heavenly eye. As his villainous value decreased, a light screen, roughly the size of a mobile phone, appeared in Zhou Tian's mind. Within the light screen, Zhou Tian was attempting to escape. Damn it, how can this broken glass be so sturdy? It's been hit for so many days and it's still intact. And the lid, even if it's screwed tight, it's impossible to open it even if you put a brick on top of it. It's outrageous. Zhou Tian looked dejected. 5 days, 5 whole days. Zhou Tian had been soaking in this wine for 5 days. His last bit of oxygen was about to run out, and Zhou Tian still had no way to escape. The devouring system can only devour living things. Alcohol is an inanimate substance and cannot provide Zhou Tian with any evolution points. This is the result that Zhou Tian obtained after painful experiments. Am I really going to die such a miserable death? A hint of despondency flashed in Zhou Tian's eyes. No, I still have family. I still have my sister. King Hen is still waiting for me to save her. I can't give up yet. I absolutely cannot admit defeat. I will become the peerless demon ancestor. As he recalled the vivid faces in his mind, Zhou Tian's expression became ferocious, and his eyes turned bloodshot. Zhou Tian fought with all his might. He went all out. Bang, a crisp sound of shattering rang out. Zhou Tian is saved. A large black cat passing by knocked over the glass bottle, and it shattered. Ha, haven't you heard? There's always a way out. I, Zhou Tian, am back, ha. Jun Yixian, you just wait for me. Slap, the big black cat slapped it backhand. Hey kid, what are you barking about? What's with all this Jun Yixian stuff? Are you out of your mind, giving yourself a human name? Are you addicted to being a pet? You're such a waste. The big black cat angrily criticized. You. Smack, the big black cat slapped him again. What do you mean? What do you mean? Come with me, I'm taking you somewhere, the big black cat commanded impatiently. Feeling the pain on his face, Zhou Tian memorized the appearance of the big black cat. Despite the vast disparity in strength, it endured. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, has been humiliated and disgraced by the ordinary demon beast, Black Cat Sheriff. Zhou Tian's luck value has been reduced by 5,000, and the host has gained 50,000 villain points. Seeing this, Jun Yixian was not surprised at all. The protagonist of Destiny is something even more outrageous than an unkillable cockroach. How could it be so easy to kill? Zhou Tian's escape was part of Jun Yixian's plan from the very beginning. That bottle of industrial alcohol was mainly used to affect the development of the microcosmic orbit. The appearance of a low-level cat demon was an unexpected bonus. Chapter 207, Jun Yixian deliberately reveals his innate abilities. Yixian, why are you taking so long to shower? Gu Qinghan leaned against the door frame, looking bored, and casually asked into the bathroom. Her clear and melodious voice echoed in the air, carrying a hint of doubt and concern. A lazy reply came from the bathroom. Something unexpected happened, which delayed me a little, but it'll be done soon. His tone was casual, as if he didn't want to explain further. A short while later, Jun Yixian came out of the bathroom with a wicked smile on his face. His deep eyes stared straight at Gu Qinghan, and he said in a flirtatious tone, "What, you've only been away from me for a short while, and you're already starting to miss me?" As Jun Yixian spoke, he deliberately moved closer to Gu Qinghan, his warm breath gently brushing against her cheek, causing her to be slightly startled. Gu Qinghan's pretty face instantly flushed red, as beautiful and captivating as the sunset. She hurriedly reached out and forcefully pushed away Jun Yixian, who had suddenly moved closer to her, and scolded him. "You're so frivolous." With this push, Jun Yixian's strong and robust body was exposed to the air without reservation. Jun Yixian's strong and powerful muscle lines are clearly visible, especially his 8-pack abs, which are as neat and distinct as if they were sculpted. Jun Yixian's skin was as white as snow, as delicate and smooth as mutton-fat jade, even better than Gu Qinghan's skin. Gu Qinghan only glanced at him briefly, but immediately noticed the huge change that had taken place in Jun Yixian. You are." Gu Qinghan stared in astonishment, her cherry-like mouth forming a large O shape, her face full of disbelief. Having spent so many days with Jun Yixian, Gu Qinghan was quite familiar with Jun Yixian's body. However, what she saw before her eyes was completely beyond her expectations. Her skin was better than a baby's, and her abdominal muscles were clearer and stronger than before. It was as if she had completely changed her body. No, it should be said that it's a genetic mutation. No, gene mutation isn't quite right either. If we had to describe it, we should say that they evolved after taking gene-editing drugs. But does this world have gene-editing drugs? Gu Qinghan asked herself hesitantly, based on her understanding, that there were no gene serums in this world. Gu Qinghan couldn't understand Jun Yixian's sudden change. It shouldn't be a gene serum. If such a thing existed, given Jun Yixian's status, he would have used it long ago. Even if he succeeded in researching it in the next couple of days, the Jun family wouldn't allow Jun Yixian to use it alone at home. "Qinghan, what are you thinking about so intently?" Jun Yixian wrapped his arms around Gu Qinghan's soft waist, his restless hands roaming freely over her waist. Just as Gu Qinghan was immersed in deep thought, suddenly a warm sensation came from her waist, like a lightning bolt across the night sky, abruptly pulling Gu Qinghan back to reality from her reverie. Gu Qinghan looked intently at Jun Yixian with her beautiful eyes. "Yixian, what was the unexpected thing you just mentioned?" Jun Yixian slowly raised his other hand, which had been free. A stream of water suddenly condensed in his palm, and the water began to surge as if it were alive, forming a small vortex. Immediately afterwards, Jun Yixian turned his gaze to the sofa placed to the side, then waved his arm and gently pointed at the sofa. A deafening roar suddenly erupted, boom. The sofa, which was perfectly fine, was instantly blown into several pieces, with wood chips and cotton lint flying everywhere, leaving the whole scene in a mess. Jun Yixian turned to Gu Qinghan with a smug look on his face and said confidently, "How about that? Wasn't that a great move of mine?" Gu Qinghan's face was covered in black lines. She had bought that sofa with her own money. This guy destroyed it without saying a word, and he even had the nerve to ask her if it was amazing. He's tearing the house apart. "You've mutated?" Gu Qinghan looked at Jun Yixian, who was hugging him with a strange expression. Compared to the sofa, Jun Yixian's changes are clearly more important. Upon hearing the word mutation, Jun Yixian's face darkened and his smile vanished abruptly. He explained in a deep voice, I'm awakening, becoming a cultivator. Gu Qinghen chuckled, covering his teeth. Cultivator, Jun Yixian, have you been reading too many novels? You don't even have any cultivation techniques. What kind of cultivator are you? I think you're more like a mutant. Jun Yixian, Mutant, do you want to hear what I'm saying? After laughing for a while, Gu Qinghen stopped her impolite mockery and asked softly, Yixian, what are the characteristics of your ability? Are there any limitations to its use? How many times can it be used? Gu Qinghen looked at Jun Yixian with shining eyes, like a curious child, as if he were looking at some rare treasure. Qinghen, do you see any difference between my eyes and those of a normal person? Jun Yixian looked at Gu Qinghen with a mischievous grin. Upon closer inspection, Gu Qinghen noticed the colorful pupils, which were quite eerie, and she couldn't quite describe them clearly. Isn't this your heterochromatic lens? Gu Qinghen looked at Jun Yixian with suspicion. She noticed the difference in Jun Yixian's eyes a few days ago at 8 in the morning. She assumed it was because Jun Yixian had custom-made heterochromatic lenses, so she didn't ask any further questions. Exhausted these past few days, Gu Qinghen didn't think much about why Jun Yixian wouldn't change it. She thought it was some new technology, but it turned out not to be. Jun Yixian smiled confidently. Qinghen, this is the talent I awakened before. The pregnancy whoever I glare at will get pregnant. As he spoke, Jun Yixian looked at Gu Qinghen with a mischievous smile. Gu Qinghen was so frightened that she closed her eyes, completely unable to meet Jun Yixian's gaze. If this ability were real, how vicious would it be? Ha ha ha, look how scared you are. I'm not a pervert who uses this ability on just anyone. Jun Yixian laughed smugly. Upon hearing this, Gu Qinghen slowly realized that she was Jun Yixian's girlfriend, so why should she be afraid of his abilities? She will get married and have children in the future, so she has absolutely no reason to be afraid of Jun Yixian. Thinking of this, Gu Qinghen's heart rate slowly returned to normal. She looked at Jun Yixian without fear and then asked, Is this the only ability of the immortal eye? No, not really. Various supernatural abilities need to be discovered gradually. My celestial eyes occasionally give me hints, like methods for absorbing spiritual energy, Jun Yixian said, half-jokingly trying to convince Gu Qinghen. The ability of the staring immortal eyes is indeed only related to the pregnancy Dao, but no one knows its true abilities or functions. It's all just something Jun Yixian made up himself. As the saying goes, when you're out in the world, your identity is something you give yourself, and this applies equally to your talents and abilities. As for my actual abilities, it's all just talk. If you don't believe me, that's fine too. My talents and abilities are what they are. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Gu Qinghen nodded suspiciously, seemingly believing Jun Yixian's explanation. Talent and ability are things that cannot be verified. There's no way to prove they're real, nor is there any way to prove they're fake. Now that Jun Yixian has used his extraordinary power, while his other abilities cannot be verified, we can only conservatively believe that some things are better believed to exist than not. You will attract doubt and questioning if you are not strong enough. When you are invincible, your words will be the truth, and all opposition will crumble and vanish. Jun Yixian didn't care what others thought. He had just reached the peak of foundation establishment. Once he adapted and gained some more villain points, he would become a nascent soul heavenly lord, or even a divine transformation godly lord, the strongest being on earth. At that time, will Jun Yixian still care what others think? The main reason Jun Yixian told Gu Qinghen these things was to see if Gu Qinghen's favorability would increase with the help of these things. As the saying goes, familiarity breeds affection. Despite sparring with Gu Qinghen for so many days, Gu Qinghen's favorability rating remained at 35, refusing to increase at all. Winning this woman over completely is a long and arduous task. P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals Chapter 208, Global Emergency Notice. Urgent notice. Attention, citizens. Attention, citizens. An extremely rare and unknown mutation is occurring in all living organisms worldwide. An extremely rare and unknown mutation is occurring in all living organisms worldwide. Please, citizens, stay away from the animals around you. Please, citizens, stay away from the animals. Attention all citizens. An unknown mutation has occurred in biological organisms worldwide. The mutation affects the entire globe. Please do not take any chances. For the safety of all pet owners, please take your pets to the nearest veterinary clinic for euthanasia or release them into the wild. Thank you for your cooperation. Citizens with pets, for the sake of everyone's safety, please take the pets to the nearby veterinary hospital for euthanasia or release them in the mountains. Thanks for your cooperation. All major television stations and radio stations, without exception, and all channels capable of disseminating information, simultaneously released important notices regarding Dalian Commercial Group's entry into a state of emergency. The news of the spiritual revival spread like wildfire to every corner, affecting almost everyone, whether in cities or villages. At the same time, everyone's mobile phones started ringing one after another, and the alarming emergency alert was displayed on the screen. People stopped what they were doing, staring wide-eyed at the sudden message, their hearts filled with astonishment and unease. Damn, it really is a spiritual energy revival. We're doomed, I'm really cracked. Someone couldn't help but shout, their voice revealing undisguised panic. Damn it, why did it take you so long to notify us? We don't have a single grain of rice at home, damn it. Another person complained angrily, his face full of anxiety. No, we can't delay any longer. We have to hurry and buy supplies, or it will be too late. More and more people realized the seriousness of the situation and took action. The once bustling streets and alleys instantly became lively and chaotic, with crowds surging towards supermarkets and shops like a tide. Everyone hurried along, their expressions tense, fearing that falling behind even a step would plunge them into dire straits. The military forces of the major merchants had already made advance preparations and were on high alert, guarding the entrances of major supermarkets and stores to maintain order. Upon seeing the dark, all-encompassing equalizer, everyone remained calm and lined up in an orderly fashion to purchase it. Without the influence of the intelligence decline label, all countries have taken appropriate measures, and the overall situation is relatively stable for the time being. The internet is also buzzing with activity. The spokesperson for the Supreme God. My asses, I'm in line, what about you? General Ewan, queue up. I haven't even bought any yet, you all go to the back of the line. Doge emoji for protection. I won't say that. General, I'm a germaphobe, I'll be first in line, hee. Never queue, you guys queue, then I'll queue. Cowardly JPG. Need support, why queue up? My neighbor hoards food, I hoard guns, my neighbor is my granary. Neighbor need help. Neighbor at lacking assist. Dude, what do you mean? Neighbor black at no auxiliary. Hey, dude, what are you doing? You guys are such idiots. Image, I've been queuing for ages and there are still so many people ahead of me. I am a fish, head tilde, going against the heavens. I am the reincarnation of the Jade Emperor. If you reincarnate as a fool, I will appoint you as the captain of the heavenly army. An ordinary reader, I'm Pangu, disdainful JPG. Fu Kanken's WeChat. Fellow Taoists, come into my Human Emperor flag forum, it's safe inside, attached picture. The Peerless Demon Cultivator's health treasure. Fellow Taoist, why is your Human Emperor banner surrounded by black aura? I'll make you cry. Hee, fellow Taoist, this is chaos profound chi, used to intimidate enemies. Gatling gun, nonsense. This is clearly a cooking session by the fellow Taoists in the banner. For everyone's health, the banner leader can only allow the smell of cooking to be released. Even nicknames are being snatched. This Human Emperor flag is still behaving itself. Everyone, go to my book of life and death, it's all about people. I am a cauliflower snake, 6. Even nicknames are being snatched at Eam, a cauliflower snake. The Book of Life and Death doesn't sound good. I also have the Investiture of the Gods here. I'll block it for you. It only costs 250 yuan per person. You won't lose out or be cheated for 250 yuan, but you can buy a spot on the Investiture of the Gods. Netizens, On the other side, in a dark, abandoned sewer, a cat and a snake moved forward one after the other. Damn it, Jun Yixian. If it weren't for you, why would I have suffered this humiliation? Zhou Tian grew angrier the more he thought about it. Because of Jun Yixian, it almost starved to death in alcohol and became a snake soaked in fake liquor. Such a deep-seated grudge will be repaid tenfold once it is restored. There's also the blood feud of killing its younger brother with a toothpick. Once it evolves into a giant python, it will definitely get its revenge. As Zhou Tian walked, he felt like he bumped into something furry. Looking up, Zhou Tian saw the big black cat sheriff staring down at him with a scrutinizing gaze. Zhou Tian felt a chill run down his spine. He was doomed. The big black cat's eyes, like copper bells, flashed with a fierce light. It glared at Zhou Tian and said coldly, "From now on, watch where you're going." "I understand." Zhou Tian nodded frantically to show that he knew. Seeing that the little white snake named Zhou Tian was sincerely admitting its mistake, the big black cat's expression softened slightly. It nodded in satisfaction, but still reminded him in a serious tone. Zhou Tian, once you enter this door, you will be a member of our 10,000 Demons Alliance. No matter what you were before, from this day forward, you are a member of the demon race. You must fight for our demon race and take revenge on humanity. Zhou Tian nodded solemnly, indicating that he understood. Of course, Zhou Tian didn't really consider himself a member of the demon race. He was just curious because he heard that there were many high-level demon beasts inside. It will allow him to quickly increase his strength and complete his human form. After giving his instructions, the big black cat opened the simple rag and swaggered inside with Zhou Tian. Brother Lao, you're back. As soon as I entered, several stray kittens rushed over and sniffed around the big black cat. The big black dog glanced at the big black cat sheriff, then inadvertently saw Zhou Tian, and suddenly his IQ dropped. Hey, I told you to go out and find demons. Why did you bring back a spicy snack? Ha ha ha, Boss Lao Sheriff, this is a tonic for you. Look, Lao Duh, this spicy strip is white and tender. Although it's a bit thin, you can tell it's very chewy. If you eat it, maybe you can even evolve a little bit. You black-hearted dog, shut up. Control your dog. This is my friend I just rescued from the human hellhole. Although his strength is only so-so, he can definitely become a fierce general in our attack on humans. For some reason, the big black cat sheriff got carried away and started praising the weakling Zhou Tian. Come on, a fierce general. With that small frame, he probably couldn't even beat a mouse, ha-ha-ha. A huge bull roared with laughter. You damn toad, what do you mean? Who are you calling weak? One-eared Rat King stepped forward angrily. The Rat King only has one ear, which was shot off by a human child with a toy gun when it was still a small mouse. Because of this incident, the Rat King deeply hates humans and vows to unleash a rat horde to destroy them. All right, stop arguing. We're all allies, don't let such a trivial matter ruin our harmony. A massive cockroach king stepped forward. Gentlemen, the cockroach king said, now that spiritual energy has revived and everyone has gained a certain level of intelligence, I don't need to elaborate on how terrifying humans are. If you truly wish to overthrow human dominance, then unite and stop fighting amongst yourselves. HMPH, Dog-Headed King snorted coldly. I'll give Cockroach King face today and won't eat this little spicy snack. Hey, you better watch your spicy snacks, or you'd better wake up every morning looking like a pile of poop, ha-ha-ha. Ha-ha-ha, the mob burst into laughter. Zhou Tian stared furiously at the large black dog on the high seat in the distance. If he had hands, he would have dug his fingers into the flesh right now, his eyes blazing with rage. Unfortunately, Zhou Tian is a snake without 4 limbs, and even his 5th limb was crippled by Zhun Yixian's subordinates a few days ago. Chapter 209, Grandmaster. 3 poles in the sun. A week after Zhou Tian's death, an old man led a young girl slowly into Kaoj City. The old man had a dignified and imposing appearance. He wore a blue robe, walked with a steady gait, and exuded an aura of awe. The girl beside him was charming and lovely, with bright eyes that sparkled like stars. Her pink dress fluttered in the wind, making her look like a fairy descending to earth. Yixian, are you sure this posture can speed up cultivation? Gu Qinghen turned to look at Zhun Yixian, her face flushed. Qinghen, this is a dual cultivation method I comprehended from the immortal eye. It's very powerful, Zhun Yixian explained to Gu Qinghen in a serious tone. Gu Qinghen looked at Zhun Yixian behind her with disbelief. Although Zhun Yixian didn't seem to be lying, Gu Qinghen still didn't believe him. This guy is probably just fooling himself with the idea of dual cultivation. Seeing that Gu Qinghen didn't believe him, Zhun Yixian continued to talk nonsense with a straight face. Qinghen, you've seen the effects of dual cultivation these past few days. If you don't believe me, don't you believe your own body? Upon hearing this, Gu Qinghen was completely certain that Zhun Yixian was just playing a trick on her. Gu Qinghen glared at Zhun Yixian with her beautiful eyes and said softly, fine. Fine, my boyfriend wants to have fun, so I'll reluctantly indulge him this once. It was noon when the old man in the light robe was brought to the mansion by Uncle Fu's men. Grandpa, where is young Master Zhun? The little girl asked excitedly. Rumor has it that Zhun Yixian of the Zhun family is as handsome as an immortal, humble, and polite, and a top-notch handsome man. Every young girl dreams of love. Sidu Yinger insisted on coming to Kaoj with her grandfather, Sidu Wujin, just to see Zhun Yixian and hope for a romantic encounter. Master Jian, the young master, is not home right now. Please wait a moment and I will send someone to look for him, Uncle Fu explained respectfully. Sidu Wujin, a grandmaster of martial arts, is renowned in the ancient martial arts world and is known as the Sword Lord. He has a very good relationship with the Jun family. Sidu Wujin nodded slightly, indicating his understanding without the slightest dissatisfaction on his face. It's all right. Young people are always curious about new things. I've only come here to give young Master Jun some pointers on martial arts. There's no need to rush. After saying that, Sidu Wujin slowly stroked the few strands of white beard on his chin, his gaze calm and gentle. Grandmaster is not only about strength, but also about mindset. Sword Master Sidu Wujin has practiced martial arts for over 70 years and has long since abandoned worldly distractions. If it weren't for owing the Jun family a favor in his early years, Sidu Wujin wouldn't have traveled all the way to Keoj to guide a junior. The resurgence of spiritual energy benefits not only animals, but also humans. Awakened beings, superhumans, individuals with special abilities, magicians, cultivators. In recent days, many new humans with special abilities have emerged around the world. Countries have collectively named them Evolvers and have begun testing and researching their various abilities, attempting to utilize this power through technological means. The more skilled ancient martial arts practitioners naturally sensed the changes in the world earlier than these people and took the lead in trying them out. In the past few days, the ancient martial arts world has also witnessed exciting and tremendous changes, with martial artists from all over the world breaking through and stepping into higher realms. Sidu Wujin, who was already at the Grandmaster level, directly stepped into the God realm, becoming one of the top tier of powerhouses in the Great Shang dynasty. These are all things that Dasheng has not yet made public. Sidu Jianjun and his granddaughter, Jun Yixian, was somewhat surprised. Yes, young master, Butler Fu said the head of the family invited them, Fu explained earnestly. Okay, I understand. I'll be there in a bit. Jun Yixian waved his hand, not taking Sword Lord Sidu Wujin seriously. Yes, young master, Hu answered loudly. Jun Yixian knew about Sword Lord Sidu Wujin, but he hadn't come to Keoj in his previous life. Jun Yixian understood that the IQ-reducing halo would lower everyone's intelligence to an unimaginable level in order to highlight the protagonist. With this halo around, humans, whether ordinary people or top nobles, will only curse and complain, and then wait for the protagonist to show off, while everyone else just stands by and shouts 666, like they're playing against bots. The only ones who can produce research results are either the female lead or her father, grandfather, mother, etc. Then, when they encounter difficulties, the male lead unintentionally steps in to resolve them, followed by a bunch of people fawning over them and becoming the protagonist's helpers. Jun Yixian knew this tactic very well. Now that there is no halo of luck affecting them, the Jun family directly invited Sidu Wujin, a grandmaster of swordsmanship, who has actually stepped into the divine realm. They directly represent one of the highest levels of individual human combat power. Whether in terms of experience or combat strength, they are beings that Zhou Tian cannot afford to offend. As for Sidu Yinger in the original storyline, she had a close relationship with Zhou Tian, and even secretly gave him her ancestral swordsmanship. Although the Sidu family's swordsmanship tradition is mediocre, Zhou Tian just can't resist his love for looking cool. Tell me what man wouldn't like or be moved by flying on a sword. The return of 10,000 swords to their source, the sword cutting through mountains and rivers, the sword opening the sky. In the original timeline, Zhou Tian used these things to show off everywhere, having a great time. What's wrong? Yixian, is this Sidu Jianjun very powerful? Gu Qinghan of SKED Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Gu Qinghan had heard her father talk about martial artists, but there were very few real martial artists, and Gu Qinghan had never seen one. As for those half-baked martial arts practitioners, they are subject to daily crackdowns. If they show their faces, they are immediately silenced. 3 lashes from the police will leave them speechless, so naturally they dare not act recklessly. Gu Qinghan has always been a well-behaved child, and the friends she knows are all good kids from ordinary families, so she has never encountered these idle people. Nothing special, just at the divine realm level, a top-tier figure in the ancient martial arts world, not strong, Jun Yixian commented indifferently. A Foundation Establishment Peak cultivator is nothing more than a divine realm cultivator. He's just a weakling. Using the combat power system of this future world, Sidu Wujin is currently only at the D rank, 1-star level. Of course, people can improve. If Sidu Wujin hadn't died, he would have had a chance to compete for S rank. However, by then, Jun Yixian's combat power would have reached the world's ceiling. A T1 level expert in the ancient martial arts world, and you call that not strong? Gu Qinghan stared wide-eyed at Jun Yixian in front of her, her beautiful face filled with disbelief. Jun Yixian smiled slightly, shook his head gently, and said, "Qinghan, your current strength is about the level of a Kuei's, a grandmaster. As long as you have some more time after your physique is fully awakened, you will be able to easily surpass him in less than a month." Upon hearing this, Gu Qinghan was slightly taken aback, then put on a cute and innocent look, staring intently at Jun Yixian. "Ah, really?" Her clear, watery eyes sparkled with doubt and anticipation. Jun Yixian raised the corners of his mouth, revealing a slightly sly smile, and said softly, "Do you think the speed of improvement will be slow if you cultivate with me?" After saying that, his deep and charming eyes locked onto Gu Qinghan's gaze, as if he wanted to see through her whole being. For a moment, Gu Qinghan's pretty face flushed slightly, and her heart pounded like a deer. "That makes some sense. Let's go meet this sword master." Jun Yixian took Gu Qinghan's hand. Gu Qinghan nodded slightly without saying a word. "P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 210, Zhou Tian in action. That despicable beast, he actually made me patrol." Zhou Tian complained loudly, his face full of anger. Since losing his second brother, Zhou Tian's personality has changed drastically. He has become as irritable as a powder keg, ready to explode at any moment. "What 10,000 demons alliance? A bunch of rabble. Let you be arrogant for a few more days, and one day I'll make you know what regret means." A chilling glint flashed in Zhou Tian's eyes. Although Zhou Tian has turned into a snake, he still considers himself a human being and has an innate aversion to those beasts who are originally low-level creatures. If it weren't for the current vast disparity in strength, this so-called alliance of 10,000 demons would have long since become Zhou Tian's prey. System, view your personal panel. Host panel. Name, Zhou Tian. Gender, male, barely considered. Age, 1 month old, actually 22 years old. Rank, F. Evolution bar, 110. Innate supernatural power, none. Faction, none. I'm still 9 evolution points short. Looks like I'll have to work harder. Zhou Tian sighed inwardly. Swish, swish. Suddenly, Zhou Tian heard a noise coming from the bushes not far ahead. Zhou Tian immediately became alert and slowly crawled toward the clump of water plants that was making the noise. Tianhu Park, where Zhou Tian is now, is a scenic spot in Keoj City. However, Tianhu Park is currently deserted and very peaceful. Zhou Tian came here to search for other mutated animals in Tianhu Park, invite them to join the 10,000 Demons Alliance, and also to find the Alliance's second headquarters. Zhou Tian verbally agreed, but his real purpose in coming here was to devour blood and strengthen himself. Zhou Tian carefully climbed forward, his snake mouth and forked tongue beginning to detect the faint scent information remaining in the surroundings. After confirming that there were no large animals, Zhou Tian slowly walked through the grass and dived into the water. By following the scent trails left on the water plants, Zhou Tian quickly found a small hole. "Should we go in?" Zhou Tian hesitated, looking at the narrow opening in front of him. Because the scent was interfered with by the water, Zhou Tian could not obtain specific information about the cave, such as what kind of creature lived inside, whether it was strong or weak, or whether it could defeat it. "I don't have teeth right now, and if I encounter a larger eel or snake, I might really crash. I'd better not risk going in." Zhou Tian thought for a moment and ultimately gave up his plan to venture into the cave. The toothless snake had absolutely no means of attack. Even an ordinary toad could only be covered in saliva by Zhou Tian at this time, without even breaking its skin. Fortunately, this is a park, and there are many fry and small fish in the lake, so Zhou Tian will not lack prey for the time being. If you can't beat a creature of the same size, eating a few small fish fry is enough to satisfy your appetite. After much deliberation, Zhou Tian decided to temporarily abandon the mysterious little hole and instead dive into the water. Beep, the host has successfully devoured an ordinary small fish fry, gaining 0.01 evolution points. Beep, the host has successfully devoured an ordinary small fish fry, gaining 0.01 evolution points. Beep, the host has successfully devoured an ordinary small fish fry, gaining 0.01 evolution points. Zhou Tian relentlessly pursued the newly discovered group of small fish fry. 1, 2, 3. Zhou Tian's eyes burned with predatory intent. With the infinite devouring evolution system, Zhou Tian only needs to swallow his prey to gain the corresponding evolution points, which is very convenient. Ding, the host's evolution points have reached 1210. Does the host wish to evolve? The cold, mechanical voice of the infinite devouring evolution system rang out. Upon hearing the evolution notification, Zhou Tian was overjoyed. Evolve, I must evolve. After many days, it has finally reached another wonderful moment of evolution. Beep, host has successfully evolved. Host's current rank, F. Chi and blood, 43-43. Combat strength, 1. Time until next evolution, 0:30. Evolution successful, awesome. Zhou Tian excitedly opened his snake mouth unconsciously. With a plop, a large mouthful of lake water, like a flood bursting its banks, instantly rushed into Zhou Tian's respiratory tract. Cough, cough, cough. Zhou Tian choked on his own urges due to this sudden carelessness. Zhou Tian struggled desperately to rise to the surface, and it took him quite a while to recover. Zhou Tian gave a wry smile. It was its first time being a snake, and it was still a little unaccustomed to it. In its excitement, it forgot to close its trachea and choked on the lake water. Zhou Tian swore that he would never make such a basic mistake again. After a short rest, Zhou Tian continued to wreak havoc on the small fish fry. The reason was simple. Zhou Tian still had no teeth. Aside from fish fry, Zhou Tian couldn't think of anything else he could defeat. Earthworms, those things are too disgusting. Zhou Tian felt a chill in his heart and couldn't bring himself to eat them. After comparing, Zhou Tian decided to continue with the small fish fry and small fish. At the same time, Zhun Yixian and Gu Qinghan returned to Villa number 3 of Luoxing Mansion, a villa that Zhun Yixian had randomly purchased in Keoj. Upon seeing Zhun Yixian, the maid waiting at the door bowed slightly and said softly, "Young master, Uncle Fu and Lord Jianjun are waiting for you in the living room on the second floor." Zhun Yixian nodded slightly, a faint smile appearing on his lips, and replied, "Yes, I understand." After saying that, Zhun Yixian and Gu Qinghan went upstairs. Upon arriving on the second floor, two people sat facing each other on a luxurious sofa. Uncle Fu was reading a book, while Sidu Wujin had his eyes closed, resting. Sensing someone's arrival, Sidu Wujin looked intently at Zhun Yixian and Gu Qinghan. Upon seeing Zhun Yixian, Sword Lord Sidu Wujin was startled. He couldn't see through him at all. The little girl beside Zhun Yixian was no ordinary person either. She was actually a half-step grandmaster in her early 20s. Even in the entire Great Shang Empire, she was one of the top martial arts geniuses. At that age, Sidu Wujin had only just reached the transcendent realm, and even then, it was just an ordinary, mediocre transcendent realm. Ha ha ha, truly, every land has its talented individuals, each leading the way for centuries. Sidu Wujin laughed. He was genuinely happy to see such an outstanding junior. "Grandpa, what's this talented woman of the land?" Sidu Yinger asked, puzzled, as she walked in from the balcony. Upon seeing Zhun Yixian, the girl's eyes lit up with surprise, and her heart rate quickened. Less than 3 seconds later, Sidu Yinger's gaze inadvertently fell on the young woman next to Zhun Yixian. This woman was beautiful and had an outstanding temperament, even surpassing me in beauty. Upon seeing that Zhun Yixian had a girlfriend, Sidu Yinger felt like her world had collapsed. After a brief moment of disappointment, Sidu Yinger quickly composed herself, smiled, and approached Zhun Yixian, introducing herself with grace and poise. "Young Master Zhun, hello, my name is Sidu Yinger, you can just call me Yinger." "Hello," Zhun Yixian nodded. Then Zhun Yixian introduced her to everyone. "Miss Sidu, this is my girlfriend, Gu Qinghan." "Hello, Sister Gu," Sidu Yinger greeted politely. Upon hearing this, Gu Qinghan smiled warmly and said softly to Sidu Yinger, "Hello, Sister Sidu." At this moment, Uncle Fu stood up and said, "Young master, this is Senior Sidu, a martial arts grandmaster specially invited by the old patriarch. You should learn from him more in the future." After saying that, Uncle Fu turned to Sidu Wujin and said respectfully, "Senior Sidu, I entrust my young master to your guidance from now on." Sidu Wujin shook his head and laughed. "Young Master Zhun is blessed with boundless good fortune and endless blessings. I am no match for you." "Senior Sidu, this?" Uncle Fu looked at Sidu Wujin with a bewildered expression. "You were just agreeing on something, and now you're backing out." Sidu Wujin sighed and said, "It's not that I don't want to teach young Master Zhun, but young Master Zhun's cultivation is so extraordinary that I am not qualified." "What?" Upon hearing this, Uncle Fu's eyes widened in surprise. His young master's cultivation level surpassed the peak of the Grandmaster realm. How come he didn't know? "Uncle Fu, you don't need to worry about cultivation. I have my own cultivation method," Zhun Yixian explained casually. "Okay," Uncle Fu nodded, bewildered. "His young master is stronger than a grandmaster. No, he needs to take a break." Then I thought about how to tell the master. Chapter 211, damn, this is no joke. If that's about right, Zhou Tian thought to himself. After 2.5 hours of hard work, Zhou Tian successfully entered the F realm. His body swelled to the thickness of 2 fingers, his teeth grew back, and he gained a new skill, biting. It's time to explore that cave. Zhou Tian silently made up his mind. Based on his years of experience watching short videos, the hole should be a burrow for eels or snakes. But Zhou Tian had never heard of eels being raised in Tianhu Park, so the possibility of eels could be ruled out. If we rule out eels, then the hole is most likely filled with snakes. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility of other things, but it's not a big problem. The hole is only about the size of 2 fingers. Even if the things inside mutate, they won't be that much stronger. It's just a small hole. What's there to be afraid of? Zhou Tianyu reached the hole he had initially discovered, and without hesitation, crawled inside. Soon Zhou Tian found 2 loaches, which were very fat and much larger than fish fry. Upon seeing that it was a loach, a hint of disappointment flashed in Zhou Tian's eyes, but this did not stop him from taking a bite. Without the slightest hesitation, Zhou Tian opened the massive maw of the serpent and, with lightning speed, ended the battle in 3 seconds. Ding, the host has successfully devoured 1 ordinary loach, gaining 1 evolution point. Ding, the host has successfully devoured 1 ordinary loach king, gaining 1.5 evolution points. Just 2 loaches, not even enough to fill a tooth gap, Zhou Tian complained unhappily. Then he tried to turn around and leave, but the cave was too narrow, and Zhou Tian couldn't turn around at all. Zhou Tian gave a helpless, bitter smile and tried to retreat and leave the small hole. The next second, Zhou Tian felt a sharp pain in the back of his body. He was stuck. Zhou Tian, I'm backing away. Zhou Tian struggled desperately, but the grip was too tight and he couldn't break free at all. This doesn't make sense, Zhou Tian thought, filled with doubt. It had measured the size of the hole. It was slightly larger than its body, so it wouldn't hinder its entry or exit at all. Moreover, it was made of mud, so if it wanted to leave, the mud wouldn't be able to hold its magnificent body back. But the truth is, Zhou Tian miscalculated. He actually got stuck in the hole. Damn it! Outside the cave, Zhun Yixian stood on the water with a smug grin on his face, holding a small syringe filled with oxalic acid. Zhou Tian's predicament was, of course, Zhun Yixian's doing. While Zhou Tian was still catching fish, Zhun Yixian quietly came to his vicinity and monitored everything Zhou Tian did through his omnipresent heavenly eye. Upon seeing Zhou Tian drilling, Zhun Yixian, who had been closely watching its every move, instantly lit up and immediately took action. 3 seconds after Zhou Tian entered the cave, Zhun Yixian, who was well prepared, did not hesitate to take out 2 extremely hard pebbles that gleamed with a cold light from his pocket and throw them towards the cave entrance with lightning speed. The 2 pebbles flew into the cave with perfect accuracy, just like 2 bolts of lightning, and stuck Zhou Tian's body, leaving him trapped in the narrow cave and unable to move. Zhou Tian, I hope you can enjoy this wonderful gift I've prepared for you. Zhun Yixian looked at Zhou Tian, who was trapped in front of him and couldn't help but feel smug. Zhun Yixian picked up the oxalic acid syringe she had prepared beforehand, and with her other gloved hand, she lifted Zhou Tianlu's exposed tail. Zhou Tian suddenly felt his tail being tightly gripped by a large hand. The sudden touch made Zhou Tian's heart tighten, and a bad premonition surged into his heart. Before Zhou Tian could react, a sharp and intense pain suddenly shot out from the snake's belly. It was as if someone had taken an extremely sharp needle and plunged it deep into his stomach. Hiss, Zhou Tian couldn't help but let out a shrill snake-like cry in pain. The next second, an even more intense, burning pain surged from my abdomen like a tidal wave, quickly spreading throughout my body. Hiss, 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 ah. Zhou Tian was in so much pain that his tail was thrashing wildly, and tears were welling up in his eyes. It hurts so much. Snakes are said to be cold-blooded animals, but the intense pain they experience from within their bodies is so severe that even a super beast would scream in agony. Who is it? Come out and fight me one-on-one if you dare, Zhou Qi yelled in a fit of rage. The pain in his body caused Zhou Tian's snake body to twitch and throb, but his body was trapped too tightly, and Zhou Tian was completely unable to move. With its tail no longer restrained, Zhou Tian instantly realized that someone was messing with it, but it simply didn't know who the 6th brother who had ambushed it was. Ah, damn it, who is it? Who is it? I'll kill you, kill you! Zhou Tian screamed hysterically and helplessly from the bottom of his heart. There was no response. Zhun Yixian didn't say another word and just watched Zhou Tian struggle frantically. Ding, the host has ambushed Zhou Tian, the chosen one of destiny, causing him severe injuries and excruciating torture. Zhou Tian is furious but can only bark helplessly. Zhou Tian's destiny value has been reduced by 10,000, and the host has gained 100,000 villain points. Ding, the host has ambushed Zhou Tian, the chosen one of destiny. Zhou Tian can only bark helplessly, not even knowing who the enemy is. Zhou Tian's mentality has collapsed, and he is filled with rage. Zhou Tian's destiny value has been reduced by 2,000, and the host has gained 20,000 villain points. Zhou Tian cried out in pain, seeing stars. No, I have to escape, Zhou Tian thought, a desire to retreat rising within him. There are mysterious enemies outside that it doesn't know about, and its body is stuck by something unknown. For now, it can only rush forward and must escape. Tear, tear, tear. Zhou Tian's eyes were bloodshot, his face contorted in a ferocious expression, as he frantically used his newly acquired talent skills. As spiritual energy flowed into its sharp teeth, Zhou Tian's snake head instantly tripled in size, frantically chewing the surrounding mud. With nowhere to put it, Zhou Tian had no choice but to swallow large mouthfuls of soil and mud. Soon, a small space was dug around Zhou Tian's snakehead, allowing Zhou Tian's snakehead to thrive even more. Tear, tear, tear. Zhou Tian continued to frantically activate his innate skill, swallowing large mouthfuls of mud into the snake's belly. Whether it was intentional or just pure luck, after ingesting a large amount of soil, Zhou Tian felt that the pain in his abdomen had lessened considerably. However, Zhou Tian, who had fallen into madness, did not stop and continued to swallow mud tirelessly. 10 seconds later, Zhou Tian dug out a relatively spacious area, exerted his strength, and at the cost of losing a lot of snake scales, he whooshed into the mud hole. Under the powerful squeezing force, the remaining small amount of oxalic acid in the snake's belly was accidentally squeezed out of the abdominal cavity, greatly reducing Zhou Tian's subsequent pain. Ding, under the coercion of the host's actions, the chosen one Zhou Tian tearfully ate mud. Zhou Tian suffered a mental breakdown, tears streaming down his face. Zhou Tian's luck value decreased by 3,000, and the host gained 30,000 villain points. Ding, under pressure, the chosen one Zhou Tian sacrificed himself for survival, further damaging his already severely injured body. Zhou Tian's luck value has decreased by 2,000, and the host has gained 20,000 villain points. Seeing that Zhou Tian had escaped unharmed as expected, Zhun Yixian did not continue to make a move, in order to prevent Zhou Tian from obtaining some great opportunity. P.S. Please encourage me to update and support me with your love. Omega equals. Chapter 212, The Good Fortune of the Child of Destiny. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, has fallen into a coma due to severe injuries and is in critical condition. Zhou Tian's luck value has been reduced by 20,000, and the host has gained villain value of 200,000. Unconscious. Zhun Yixian knew all too well that the protagonist would be seriously injured and unconscious, then be rescued by someone, and finally, through destruction and reconstruction, make a successful full recovery. Zhun Yixian naturally wouldn't stand idly by and watch something beneficial to Zhou Tian happen. Zhun Yixian activated his spiritual energy, which transformed into a hoe. In no time, he dug out Zhou Tian. Although Zhou Tian's tail was a bit smaller, it didn't have much of an impact. Looking at Zhou Tian, who had fallen into a coma, Zhun Yixian's immortal eyes shone with divine light. Good news! Zhun Yixian comprehended a highly acclaimed super divine power of the pregnancy Dao, from the staring pregnancy immortal eye. It can bring good fortune in love and pregnancy in a short period of time, making it a very practical auxiliary supernatural power. This supernatural power can not only bring good fortune in love and pregnancy to the recipient, but it can also instantly conceive, making it the best way to give birth. If this method is used to make money, Zhun Yixian could successfully earn the honorary title of Fertility Immortal and enjoy the offerings of incense within a few days. Zhou Tian's status as the first person in the world to take the plunge is well-deserved, given his status as a chosen one. Zhou Tian, I hope you like this opportunity, heh tilde, Zhun Yixian chuckled. Then Zhun Yixian casually tossed Zhou Tian onto the small island in the middle of Tianhu Lake. He left after accomplishing his task, concealing his identity and name. After arranging Zhou Tian's funeral, Zhun Yixian chose to depart gracefully. After an unknown amount of time, Zhou Tian felt a burning pain coming from the snake's rear end. This pain spread throughout his body like an electric current, instantly waking him from his daze. Zhou Tian suddenly opened his eyes, but the sight that greeted him instantly turned his expression extremely gloomy. A giant snake, more than twice as thick as it, was tightly coiled around it in an extremely domineering manner. The cauliflower snake was like a strong rope, tightly binding Zhou Tian, making him unable to move. Ah! Zhou Tian was furious and let out a furious roar. Zhou Tian's eyes were bloodshot with hatred and fury. He stared intently at the arrogant and domineering snake in front of him, his heart filled with resentment and humiliation. Zhou Tian wanted to escape, but he couldn't, and could only shed tears of humiliation. Ding, with the host's intervention, the chosen one Zhou Tian has encountered his destined romantic encounter. But Zhou Tian does not like it, and instead leaves behind humiliating tears. Zhou Tian's luck value has plummeted by 200,000, and the host has gained 200,000 villain points. Ding, with the host's intervention, the chosen one Zhou Tian encountered a domineering viper and was forced into a passionate affair with her. His mentality exploded, his spirit collapsed, and Zhou Tian's luck value plummeted by 300,000. The host gained 3 million villain points. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, has suffered a hellish setback. His mentality has collapsed, and he is in a daze. Zhou Tian's luck value has been reduced by 2,000, and the host has gained 20,000 villain points. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, is being forcibly entangled by a venomous snake, suffering unbearable pain, feeling like he's living a life worse than death, and having lost all will to live. Zhou Tian's destiny value has been reduced by 3,000, and the host has gained 30,000 villain points. Ding, the chosen one of destiny, Zhou Tian, is out of control. Zhou Tian is terrified. Zhou Tian's destiny value has been reduced by 1,500, and the host has gained 15,000 villain points. The system's automatic announcements began to ring out one after another in Zhun Yixian's mind. Zhun Yixian stopped his movements and asked calmly, "System, could you please turn off the villain value announcement? It's so late at night I can't sleep." Beep, the system announcement sound has been automatically turned off. As soon as he finished speaking, the automatic system announcement that Chen Zhou had set up also disappeared. The battle continued. Gu Qinghan sensed that Zhun Yixian had stopped circulating his energy and assumed that Zhun Yixian wanted to switch to another cultivation technique. So, considerately and skillfully, she switched to another cultivation movement. The Zhou Tian snake was numb, but it was now severely injured and completely unable to resist. It could only passively and humiliatingly entangle itself with the domineering cauliflower snake. Nothing more was said that night. That night some were happy while others were sad, and Zhun Yixian's villain value reached 10,276,510. The next morning, the first thing Zhun Yixian did upon waking up was to check his villain rating. System, check my villain stats. Ding, host's villain value, 10,274,310. Check the remaining luck value of the week. Ding, the remaining luck value of the chosen one, Zhou Tian, is 1,262,569. System, tell me, how much did you embezzle? Upon seeing the number, Zhun Yixian realized that the system had embezzled. Ding, host, this is the maximum villain value. This is all recorded data. Please don't doubt the system's professionalism. Upon hearing this, Zhun Yixian laughed, a laugh born of anger. Professional, more like a professional at ripping off the host. He only spent 1 million luck points, and a quick calculation shows that he had less villain points. If he says he didn't embezzle, do you think Zhun Yixian can't count? However, the system stubbornly refused to admit it, and Zhun Yixian couldn't do anything about it. He had asked the system to turn off the broadcast, and how could he know if there were fewer shortcomings? System, restart the system broadcast. Zhun Yixian ultimately didn't argue with the system anymore. After all, people are under the system and have no choice but to bow their heads. If they anger the system and it tries to unbind them, then they're finished. Ding, system announcement, 100,000 villain points. Host, confirm activation. Zhun Yixian's face darkened, but he could only grit his teeth and swallow his pride. Open. Beep, 100,000 villain points have been deducted from the host. The host has successfully activated the system announcement function. Zhun Yixian. When people are speechless, they really are speechless. After a while, Zhun Yixian lost another amount of villain points, which made him angrier and angrier. Enraged, Zhun Yixian went to the 10,000 Demon Alliance, where Zhou Tian had previously been. Without further ado, Zhun Yixian manipulated the water flow, pouring it forcefully into the spot where Zhou Tian had previously been. Ding, the host has eliminated one of the future opportunities of the chosen one, Zhou Tian, indirectly affecting Zhou Tian's development. Zhou Tian's luck value has been reduced by 100,000, and the host has gained 1,000,000 villain points. Hearing that he had received 1,000,000 villain points, Zhun Yixian's mood improved a little. With over 10,000,000 villain points, it's time to improve my cultivation, Zhun Yixian thought to himself. I won't have time to develop these few days on Sunday, so I won't cause any trouble. Having made up his mind, Zhou Tian quickly arrived at the foot of Jiaxing Mountain, far away from Keoj. Because of the revival of spiritual energy, the plants and animals in the mountains have all mutated to varying degrees. Compared to the city, the conflicts in the mountains are more numerous and frequent. Along the way, the number of demonic beasts that jumped out to ambush Zhun Yixian far exceeded 100. However, they were all half-baked fake monsters. Zhun Yixian slapped them one by one and soon arrived at the top of Jiaxing Mountain. Overlooking Keoj, he had a sense of being on top of the world, and the scenery was quite nice. The buildings on the mountaintop were relatively well preserved. Zhun Yixian spent 10 minutes completely clearing out the monster that had taken over the building. Chapter 213, 33 Tribulations of Lightning. System, exchange for peak golden core stage cultivation. Ding, 900,000 villain points deducted from the host. Congratulations on successfully breaking through to the golden core stage. Further cultivation tribulation points will be awarded after the tribulation ends. The moment the villain's value was deducted, dark clouds instantly covered Star-Picking Mountain, with calamity clouds pressing down on the mountain and bursts of lightning. It's here. Zhun Yixian looked solemnly at the white lightning that seemed ready to strike above. Tribulation transcending. This is one of the most common major events in the world of cultivation, and many cultivators die in front of this hurdle, making it extremely dangerous. As a transmigrator, Zhun Yixian was very familiar with the name of the Tribulation of Lightning, but he was still a little nervous when he faced it for the first time. Getting struck by lightning, that should be fine, right? Zhun Yixian reassured himself. Host, there's no need to worry. Others undergo tribulation first and then break through, while you break through first and then undergo the tribulation. It's not difficult. System, could you give me my remaining cultivation points in advance? I'm panicking. Ding, host. Doing this will be considered a provocation against the heavenly Tao and will intensify the tribulation. Do you want it? Chen Zhou gave a serious explanation, which of course was made up by Chen Zhou on the spot. By binding himself to Zhun Yixian, Chen Zhou had already made arrangements with the heavenly Tao of this world. The tribulation was merely a formality, and its intensity was actually quite average. Well, all right then, Zhun Yixian nodded helplessly. Since it concerned the heavenly Tao, Zhun Yixian had no doubts. After all, this world was a world where spiritual energy was reviving, and the existence of the heavenly Tao was reasonable. Zhun Yixian knew that provoking the heavenly Tao would get him punished. He was just a novice cultivator, and there was no need to make things harder for himself. Come on, Zhun Yixian silently thought to himself. Boom! A bolt of lightning struck, and Zhun Yixian was directly hit into the ground. His clothes torn, his skin charred, and he looked extremely disheveled. Cough, cough, Zhun Yixian staggered out of the dirt. Ordinary clothes are so brittle, not sturdy at all. Clothing. Before Zhun Yixian could finish his rant, another bolt of lightning struck down, and Zhun Yixian was once again blasted into the ground. In another space, Chen Zhou was playing chess and drinking tea with a young man. Brother Tiandao, there's no need to be so ruthless, Chen Zhou said casually without any remorse. System, there are quite a few parasites in this world these days. I'm not comfortable giving this kid a few more buffs outside of the rules, the young heavenly Tao explained with a serious expression. That's true. Besides Zhou Tian, there are other bugs that need to be addressed. This kid really needs to be strong enough. Chen Zhou nodded, agreeing with Tiandao's assessment. Don't worry, system. I will definitely return you a healthy and powerful tool, Heavenly Tao solemnly guaranteed. Then I thank you, Brother Tiandao, Chen Zhou said with a smile. As they spoke, the heavenly Tao dropped a black chess piece, and Zhun Yixian on Jiaxing Mountain was struck by another bolt of lightning. As heaven made its move, Chen Zhou followed suit with his own black piece. The two played their pieces one after the other, completely unconcerned about the fate of Zhun Yixian, who was undergoing tribulation. Anyway, Zhun Yixian won't die, so it doesn't matter. If Zhun Yixian accidentally kills me, then Zhun Yixian can just use some villain points to revive me. It's not a big problem. Meanwhile, the comments section was also bustling with activity. Let me tell you something. Wow, a rare treasure has appeared in Keoj. Don't lie to me, I'm devastated. Why did my destiny fall in Keoj? Wah. Crying emoji. While watching a music video during my vacation, I thought, I haven't even awakened my talent yet, and a rare treasure has already appeared. At watching MV during holiday, bro, don't overthink it. If nothing unexpected happens, this is definitely a lucky break for some main character. We're just NPCs, we can just cheer. 9-turn blood droplet. Wah! My heart aches, another beautiful female lead has been snatched away by an overpowered male lead. Ghost Fairy, hold on, what protagonist? Since ancient times, the strongest have always possessed the most precious treasures. This fairy will go and see what kind of treasure it is. 9-turn blood droplet at Ghost Fairy. You'd better not go or something bad will happen. Serious JPG. Ghost Fairy at 9 revolutions blood droplet. Don't worry, I'm not alone. I'm leading a reinforced regiment. I love a fish, what? How much did you say? A reinforced regiment. Shocking JPG. Just getting a haircut, ha ha ha. This is amazing. Even if 10 main characters came,